Hello and welcome to the Computer Game Show. My name's David Turner and I'm here with Matt Murray.
Hello.
I'm also here with James Farley.
Hello.
Oh, Grumpy James Farley. Oh, yeah, I just remembered the football. He's giving it all the big un for months.
I was going to say that for follow-up, but...
The thing is, right, is there's reasons for this.
Oh, James, for fuck's sake.
No, okay. No, I'm not talking about the game. I'm talking about the abuse that I've meted out to Matt. The reason that has happened in the past is because when Chelsea were going through a really bad spell under Mourinho, he was on at me every single week about that.
He was, yeah.
So this has just been revenge. That. It's just been revenge. That's the only reason I've done it.
I witnessed that. And don't get me wrong, I was cheering Chelsea on because I can't stand Crystal Palace or anyone associated with that football club. But you were being very, very weird in our text messages flying back and forth. I mean, you were going, see, the problem is Chelsea have got problems. They've got big problems. What, and Crystal Palace haven't? Like,
no, but that still doesn't negate the fact that, you know, that there are problems there, clearly.
Right, okay, so you've got one mega rich...
You should definitely still beat Crystal Palace Football Club.
You've got one mega rich club with superstars, right, with problems, and
you've
one
got Chelsea.
Complete joke of a club.
Yeah, but just listen,
with
just because...
nobodies and
just
with
because
problems.
Well, yeah. Just because you've spent, like, loads of money doesn't guarantee you're going to win. It doesn't work like that.
But it does help.
Come on, you've just got to turn around and say, do you know what, Chelsea were fucking shit.
Yeah, they
Instead,
were.
You go, we've got problems,
but there's reasons why they were
That's the problem.
Rubbish.
That's the problem at the moment is that we've got problems. You don't fucking have a clue what a problem is in football this day and age. You've got no fucking clue.
Here we go. Go on. Do your whole, like, in the lower leagues it's not like this. You know, it's like, we're just glad that we're alive and all that kind of stuff. Go on, give us the whole thing.
You've picked your successful team and they lose one game and you throw your hissy fit. Oh,
absolute bullshit.
My Chelsea. And not only that, look, how can you get upset when you watch every game from the fucking couch? I'll never understand that. Same with you, Matt. I don't know why you get so into it, sitting there watching it on the telly, watching the highlights, no less. Do you know what I mean? Go to a couple of games, lads. I've been at Crystal Palace more times than you have, Matt.
Well, you probably
admittedly
have,
in the away end.
I don't live down south, and it's expensive, and I can still be a fan.
Exactly. Have you seen how much it costs? I mean, Millwall doesn't cost any money, does it? I mean, they pay people to go and see Millwall. It's like
£35 a pop, but
exactly,
I mean,
£35. That's nothing. Like to go and see like football. If you go and see Chelsea, it costs a fortune.
James, you come from the most middle class family I've ever known. I think you can spend the extra £20 a ticket.
It's more than that.
You'll be fine.
And also, then you have to go through the whole lottery as well of trying to get them. It's impossible.
What is that? The worst fucking lottery. The worst lottery in the world. You've won the lottery. You can now go and watch a bunch of millionaires lose against Crystal Palace. Like, that is a bad.
It was
lottery
embarrassing.
Win.
I mean, but this is why I just the thing is, after I've been slagging off Matt for weeks and weeks and weeks with this,
it's been a long time.
I just knew that this game was going to be the one where we come a cropper, and that's why I said before. That's why I said before the game started. I said we're going to lose this. I've just got a feeling about it. And
but that's also classic Farley fucking defence. You know what I mean?
No. But also, if you look at the form guide, it hasn't like Chelsea. It's like win, draw, like win, lose. Right? So the last game we lost.
Look at the form guide for Crystal Palace.
Yeah,
lose. I mean, come on.
No goals. 4 goals.
Either way, Palace deserved the win, but it was horrible. And and the worst thing about this, as I said, is that now, even if Palace don't score any goals for the rest of the season and get relegated with like the worst points total, I can't say anything. Because of this game, and it's just horrible.
And as I said at the time, they'll definitely score another goal because they've got to play you again.
That's true, yeah.
Honestly, do you know what I like? I like the fact that it's given these Palace fans a false hope. They're sitting there going, well, this is it now. We get our season started, and then they'll lose again next week.
See, also, Matt, you sent me that tweet.
Next week, so I've got a good feeling, yes.
You sent me that tweet of that guy who was a Palace fan, like, slagging off Roy Hodgson, right? Why did you send me that? That was your own fans slagging off their manager.
I thought it was a Chelsea fan. I thought that was the whole point.
No, it was a Palace fan.
Right, okay, listen to football. I know that a lot of listeners out there going, I don't like the kickball games. Oh, shut up. Right, what we got for follow-up this week, Matt? Let's get straight into it.
Well, the first bit of follow-up this person, Mike Petit, is already disappointed because his bit follow-up is, please can Dave's slow and awkward parlour games be a weekly section? Only reason that he'll be tuning in going forward. So there's no games this week.
I can hold my hands up and say that didn't work like last week, and
I was getting
won't be
into
doing
it
it
by
again.
the end, though. Well, I listened back, I thought, yeah, it was awkward at the beginning, sure, but towards the end I understood the rules of the game.
I don't think the two of you help matters. For starters, yeah, how did you not understand the rules of the game when I told you the rules of the game? I mean, James at one point went, hold on, is this YouTube comments? Yes, I've already said that. If you were listening, you would have picked up on that.
It's because the concept was so boring to begin with. I wasn't really listening.
No enthusiasm from you guys at all. For something to work, you've got to be into it. And you were sitting there, I can't think of what game
Dave,
that is.
I don't mind, obviously.
Yeah, cheers.
I know we save a lot of things for the podcast, and I think that makes things better, but if it's a game, you should give us a bit of warning, because we were like, what? There's a game? And just give us a bit of warning.
It was a last minute. It was a last minute thing, and I thought I was working with people that, you know, had a little bit of oomph and personality about them that didn't need
It doesn't matter.
Okay, go on.
It was rubbish, but go on.
James Hughes, on the back of last week's Loot Crate discussion, I think James hit on exactly why we're having a problem in modern AAA games. They've been around for a while, and I could tolerate them being cosmetics, but two of the biggest titles this year seem to have incorporated loot crates in a really bad way. Namely Star Wars Battlefront 2, whose entire unlock system is through loot boxes and could be viewed as pay to win, as some unlocks do actually offer extra health, damage and shields. And secondly, the recently released Shadow of War that makes the endgame deliberately a grind fest to try and encourage the purchase of loot boxes. Sorry for the long email, but I thought it was worth pointing these two examples out for David, as they're both £50 games with a really shitty loot box system, and I do agree that these both sell well, we may start to see them becoming the norm on more up-and-coming games.
I'll ask this before... I'll ask this. Do either of you know... actually know what those loot boxes contain, what the rules are behind them?
What do you mean?
What they do? And because all I've heard is, it's pay to win. Yeah, but what's in them?
It depends.
It
depends on the game.
No, I know it depends on the game. I'm asking about these two games. When we're complaining about the loot boxes in them, are we saying that you can unlock them through gameplay? Or what's the deal? Do either of you actually know?
Yeah. The thing is with Battlefront 2...
No, then. Right, go on.
No, fuck off. The thing is...
Give it a lively one.
No, because the thing is that with Battlefront 2, it does, like, as the email says, it can unlock, like, extra health and damage and stuff like that. But also characters, I think, as well. Like, there's, like, Boba Fett and people like that you can get through, like, loot crates and, yeah. It's the way. But
how do you unlock the loot crates? Are they pay only, or can you unlock them through gameplay?
That I don't know.
Well, exactly. So we're arguing about stuff we don't know the details of.
Well, like,
it's like when everyone was kicking off about shaders in Destiny 2. And then it turns out that you get shaders for doing fucking everything anyway.
No, because the thing is, right, is even if you can get them through gameplay, they will have designed it so to make it as awful as possible so that people will want to spend money. Otherwise, why would they do it in the first place?
But do you know that that's the case?
No, but we'll have to check. But I'm pretty certain that you probably have to get them through that.
We'll talk about it when we got the facts. This is what I'm saying.
Don't start all this. This is ridiculous.
What?
It's like you're just trying to like find apologies for this. Because that's what you always do. You're always just trying to find some way of making out that actually publishers are kind of alright and there's no problem with this.
No, I want to know the facts before I start wading in with my complaints.
Yeah.
No, what do you mean, yeah? What you can't just turn around and go, this is shit. Well, what are the details? I don't know yet, but that's not an intelligent argument, is it, James? That's not an intelligent argument. The game's not even fucking out yet. Is it?
I'm just going to...
I don't think it is.
No, it's not out yet.
The beast was out, yeah, but the other side...
Okay, alright, go on.
I'll carry on with the next one, and then James can pipe in. It's from Justice Blomberg. Just thought to write in about Dave's ridiculous attitude about things that have not, in inverted commas, personally affected me, so isn't going to lobby against it. Dave, I'm quite sure you haven't experienced sexual assault, but I'm sure you can still realise it's a bad thing and you should be against it whenever the subject is brought up. Granted, loot crates aren't as bad and can be done right, but have you ever seen what's happened in Star Wars Battlefront 2? If that doesn't scare you for the future of games, I don't know what does. It could happen to any of the games you love. Get your head out of your arse, mate, And James, you really have to work on your argumentation skills for the sake of all us listening, so Dave doesn't win every ridiculous argument.
Yeah. I mean, I got this email. I read this email in the week, and I don't know. I think there's either two things that you're aiming at here. The first would be that quote, that if it doesn't personally affect me, I can't get outraged or upset by it. If you were aiming at that, then I would say that you've ignored the rest of the conversation and you've taken that quote out of context. And admittedly, maybe I should have gone back and actually explained what I meant by that. But I thought, in the context of the discussion we were having, then it was pretty clear that I was agreeing with James on certain aspects, but disagreeing with him on the other things. If you were talking about the overall conversation we were having, if that's what you're aiming for there, then that's total bollocks. Because let's take the example you gave, right? Sexual assault is a wrong. Like it's as if you don't think that I know the difference between right or wrong. The difference between the example you gave and what we were talking about is that I've experienced loot boxes and haven't had a problem with them, or in certain instances enjoyed what they brought to the table, right? The other stuff you're talking about, there's a clear wrong. There's no enjoyment there. There's no, oh, that's okay, it's not bothering me. It's a totally different scenario. So I don't know what you're trying to do. I don't know if you've misheard something. I don't know what, but what I was clearly doing in that discussion was agreeing that gambling should be regulated. And, I agreed with a few of James's points, but my point is this: the stuff where I have experienced it in games, it hasn't bothered me. So I can't get angry about it and say loot box should be banned when it hasn't been a problem for me yet. And then when these examples are coming up of, oh, these are terrible and they're ruining gaming, I kind of think, well, are they? Because where I've seen them in games, they haven't bothered me enough, or I've quite enjoyed them. And the examples that people are giving, they're not fully explaining what their problem is. It's just these loot boxes are shit. Okay, fine, but why? I think the best argument against it I heard was from James last week when he was saying it's outright gambling. Gambling can be fun, but it should be regulated. Right? And I agree with that. I totally agree with that. And I suppose we'll come to this discussion again in the news. But to compare the two, either means that you don't think I know from right from wrong, or you've taken my quote out of context. And that is just to make it clear, that's not the same thing. That's not the fucking same thing at all. There's no connection there. It's insane. James?
Yeah, I can understand what you're saying, and I kind of agree with what you're saying, because obviously, I mean, the example he's given is a bad example, because it's just, they are not. There's no way you can equate them at all. But I mean, I think what he's probably getting at is this idea of having empathy for the way that other people may feel about this. Whereas it's true, I agree with you that you can't be angry about something if it hasn't really bothered you yet. You see what I mean? But you can still understand why people would be angry about it, yeah?
Yeah, but you don't have to agree that...
No, you don't have to agree, but you can still understand why people are pissed about it, yeah?
Well, yeah, but then there's no... I shouldn't just automatically say, okay, this person's pissed with it, it should be banned.
No, of course not, yeah.
So, I mean, there's understanding... I mean, it's weird. It's like jokes. Some people get really offended with jokes, and that's just not something. Unless the intent is vicious and it's nasty or whatever, then I can't relate to that. And so then I should be getting angry about it. Is that the idea?
I don't know. I mean, I think it's more about it's more about the whole, because I think what it is that, David, you sometimes have a tendency, sometimes.
Here we go. I guarantee you're talking about yourself. Go on.
No, you sometimes have a tendency to, when people get annoyed about things, to just be very dismissive of that, just because you haven't done it or whatever. You're just like, well, I'm not.
Have you got any examples? What do you mean?
What we've just been talking about.
Loot crates.
Yeah.
But this is it. People are saying, I hate loot crates. I hate them. They're ruining gaming. and I've experienced them, and I've not had that. So that's not just me taking a stance on whatever anyone says. That's me going from personal experience.
Yeah, but then the trouble is often when you have your personal experience, you then don't want to debate it further because you're just like, it doesn't bother me, it doesn't affect me.
No, 9 times out of 10, because it's this huge reactionary noise, and I'm saying, like, calm down. That's what I'm saying. I'm offering my point of view. But I'm not saying you should be fine with it, whereas you're saying you should be outraged by it.
I'm not saying you should be outraged,
see what
but
the difference
can you
is?
not see, though, why people would get annoyed if you're like, okay, everyone calm down, I haven't been personally affected by this, so I'm not bothered about it.
No, hold on. Right. Last week, when we had this discussion, did I once say that you shouldn't be angry about it?
No, you said people shouldn't get all outraged and angry about it.
No, did I? Did I
Yes.
say people shouldn't get outraged and angry about it?
No, you said you didn't understand why people got so angry about all this.
Correct. I didn't understand why people, because of my personal experience, I haven't had that negative effect from loot boxes, right?
Yeah.
Now, you were saying that I have to get angry about it.
No, I didn't.
And I'm saying, yes, you did.
I never said you had to get angry about it. I said that
okay.
No, I never said you had to get angry about it. What I did say was that
I'm going to be cutting and pasting the last week's episode. Go on.
No, I didn't say you had to get angry about it. I just said that I couldn't understand why you wouldn't understand why other people are angry about it.
We're talking around it. Listen, we're both dickheads. Right,
Agreed.
Matt, have you got anything to say?
James, on that subject particularly?
Well, whatever you want, mate.
No. James Hill.
By the way, just before we move on, who emailed in?
That was Justus Blomberg.
Right. If you don't disagree with what I've just said, and you want to say your point as well, the whole point about feedback is that you can come back at me with this. I'm not going to not read out what you've got to say, because I think it's an interesting discussion, and if you think I've misinterpreted what you said, or you still think I'm wrong with my point of view, then let me know, and it's totally fine. The whole point about this bit is that we have a proper discussion rather than,
meant to be a forum.
Yeah, except for James. Fuck James. Next.
Speaking of James Hill, I'm surprised at Dave's lack of interest in the SNES Classic. This is obviously following from last week or the week before. Dave, you're like,
week, aren't
I don't care about. I don't see who would. I don't see the interest or the appeal in one of these retro consoles. Anyway,
Yeah.
Is that correct? Yeah.
Yeah, I don't see
Okay,
the interest in the
James Hill continues. Nintendo regularly boil my piss, but I think I've knocked out of the park with this one. 20 mostly great games for $80. A single SNES game goes for about $20 over there, I presume is in America, on Amazon. Plus the fact that a SNES Classic lets you instantly jump back to all of your games, much like the PS4 does, but with 20 games at once. All of the games have 4 save slots each, and you can rewind games if you screw up. I honestly think Dave would love one if he got his hands on one.
How much were SNES games on the Virtual Console on the Wii U, James?
They were about £5, I think.
Fucking hell. So you're saving £1 a game with buying the SNES Classic?
Yeah.
And I suppose you get a console with it.
Yeah, and you get the original pad.
Yeah, I mean, I just...
Don't care.
I just don't care. I wouldn't plough on one of these things. As I've said before, certainly on the Retro Asylum I was on, I've just got no interest in playing old games. I mean, fair play to you if you do, then I'm sure this is right up your street. It's just not up mine. I can't force myself to like it, I'm afraid.
Rem Alaptar. Matt's fairway pun was the highlight of the show last week, made even funnier by David's complete unawareness of a joke being made. Matt tried to move on by making a much more inferior and much more obvious pun, akin to a serial killer staging their next victim, especially for the media to notice. But it was evident that it was eating him up inside. His silence was palpable. I feel a couple of people tweeted about this. Lee Morris, Matt today about Golf Story. Are you a fair way through the game? No reaction, disappointed. And then Peter Parrish, not even a glimmer of recognition for the "Are you a fair way through it" line from Matt. I mean, I was dropping puns left, right, and centre. I think I started with the fairway one. Nothing.
Matt,
and then I
you could say that about every conversation you ever have. I was dropping puns left, right, and centre. This is the thing, right? Matt's puns are white noise to us now. We don't react to them because we've heard a billion of them. Do you know what I mean? And it's
very true.
I mean, fair play. They're good puns. I'm not having a pop at you, Matt. They're good puns.
Yeah,
but
they're punful.
After a certain amount of time, they become absolutely non-effective. It's like ASMR videos. You become immune to them, and then that's it. You're done.
But you always said they gave you a bit of a buzz. Like ASMR videos. SMW.
See what I mean? It gets to the point where you just, okay, is that a pun that time? Or you question it after a while. Is that a pun, or are you just talking? I mean, it's just language to Matt. It's
all just language to me, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's all just language. Okay, next bit of follow-up. Obviously, James last week and for many weeks, and probably Dave to a lesser extent, hates the acronym PUBG.
Yeah.
Player One Knows Battlegrounds says, I think it got it's like an official sort of title for the Xbox version this week, and some sort of papers, or I don't know. Basically, SMW tweeted that the official title of the game is going to be called Player Unknown's Battlegrounds: The Ultimate Life and Death Fight, which is basically PUBG TUL ADF. Is that cool?
So it's like PUBG Tolfa.
Yeah.
We start calling it that. Okay.
Sounds like a place up north, doesn't it? I'm just popping up to Tolford.
I mean, are you any happy with that, James? Have you found any other alternatives that aren't PUBG that you hate so much?
I just don't like it, and I'm not going to say it because it's awful, and I just wish this game would die because of its name. But God.
X-Bone.
Yeah. So just to clarify, you're not going to buy Battlegrounds when it comes out on Xbox.
Almost certainly not, no.
No, he'll be buying it on X-Bone, Matt. We all know that.
Of course, yeah. Lee the Knight, on our discussion last week about that PSVR box and whether they will or they will not, we mentioned the fact it's a new version. Apparently the new PSVR box does come with new packaging to indicate the whole HDR pass-through and the writing on the box. So I
wish you chaps knew all this stuff before we just go into it the way we do. No, they don't regularly do this. They've done this before, and then we have a big argument, and it turns out that they're not doing it anyway. It's just utter nonsense.
But no, that's a fact. Like, unless you know, like, the CUH number, they don't say, this is the new one.
No, but they are for this one, making the whole argument non-applicable.
Anyway, finally, Ben Adramaday Bowers on Twitter. Did David Farley and Sean actually get any of the whiskies I left for the live show, or did Matt keep them all himself? Ben, I'll start by saying an apology. Ben basically came onto my house before a live show, gave us loads of whiskies for a live show. It was such a crazy and busy weekend that we didn't drink any, and I kept forgetting to mention it on the show every week. But Ben came, like I said, it was a huge favour, gave us loads of whiskies. Do go over to YouTube and search for a Dramaday YouTube channel. Ben's over there drinking whiskies basically and testing those different types. So please go over and search for a Dramaday on YouTube to check out this YouTube channel. And once again, sorry, Ben.
When we were leaving Matt's, did you get offered any of that whiskey?
None.
No, it's funny. I didn't either.
It's really lovely stuff. It's a shame, really.
Yeah, it is a shame. It is a shame. No. Thanks so much for sending that whiskey over, but Matt just went quiet about it, and when we were leaving, didn't mention it.
Not true.
So disappointing, because...
So what are you saying, Matt? You did offer us some whiskey?
I did at one point, and...
think about it. Did you offer us some whiskey, yes or no?
During the weekend.
During the weekend?
Yeah. Obviously on the weekend I said, we've got loads of whiskey, we need to drink it, and we never got round to it.
Okay. Did you offer us any whiskey at the weekend?
Well, I said we've got all this whiskey to drink. Do you want it more explicit than that?
You said that when we arrived, just as we arrived. Did you offer us any of that whiskey that weekend?
Well, I said the whiskey was there. I didn't say
the answer is no, Matt. Matt, the answer is no. We weren't offered any whiskey.
Sorry, David.
So
do you need me to
please
turn
send
up in
your
a butler's
abuse to Matt Murray
with like a silver tray saying, "Who would like whiskey, everybody?"
If someone sent me a bunch of drinks and said, "This is for the boys for the podcast,"
which I told you about.
Okay, at some point this weekend, I'll say, "Do you want a glass of that whiskey? Do you want to try that whiskey?" Do you know what I mean? Because technically, they're in your house, they're yours. I ain't going to go rummaging through boxes to get the whiskey out. You're supposed to go. The etiquette is
Dave. Absolute fucking bollocks.
The etiquette is.
I told you were there. You knew they were there. They're in the kitchen for everyone to see. We just never got round to it. Don't throw me under the bus.
Okay. So when we were leaving, you didn't think to go, oh, we still got that whiskey in there. Do you want a bottle?
No, I didn't. I forgot.
No, I didn't think of that. I forgot about that. Okay, fine. Just so we know what the sort of person Matt Murray is. Everyone thinks he's the nice guy. He's not. He steals whiskey, quite clearly, and then forgets to thank people over and over again.
It would have made the journey back a lot more bearable had we had that whiskey.
Not for me, I was driving.
Well, you were driving, yeah, but, I could have had a dram.
What was wrong with the trip back? You were just sitting there playing on your fucking Switch all the way anyway.
I did not do that.
Yes, you did do that.
Anyway, thank you ever so much for all the feedback. If you want to tweet us, it's at ComputerGamePod on Twitter, or email thecomputergameshow@gmail.com. So this is, anything we've said that you disagree with, and particularly like comments about loot boxes and whatever, give us a bell and we'll probably discuss it on the next episode.
We'll address them. Yeah, we'll address them. Thanks for emailing in. Right, okay. Let's get straight to the news then.
Okay, so here's the news. It's about loot boxes.
This has been mental this week though. Everyone's been talking about loot. Every podcast, every one on Twitter, the loot box thing has taken over the world. What are you talking about? We're the computer game show, mate. We're the only ones that should be talking about it. Everyone else should just sit and wait for our opinion, surely.
Go on, James.
Okay, so anyway, basically, one of the things that happened this week was the ESRB came out and said that they don't consider loot boxes to be gambling. And their argument is this.
Bollocks.
I'll quote this so that then David doesn't say you haven't read it, because I have. It says, while there's an element of chance in these mechanics, the player is always guaranteed to receive an in-game content, even if the player unfortunately receives something they don't want. We think of it as a similar principle to collectible card games. Sometimes you'll open a pack and get a brand new holographic card you've had your eye on for a while, but other times you'll end up with a pack of cards you already have. So, yeah, that's the ESRB, and yeah, that's bollocks.
Wait, is it bollocks? What's bollocks about it?
Okay, because there's
I'm not disagreeing with you before you get defensive. I'm interested to see why you're so clearly against this. Okay,
so first of all, it is gambling, and see, I did the thing where I looked at the dictionary to see what the dictionary said, and it's it's a risky action undertaken with a hope of success. That does sound like buying a loot crate to me. And also, the ESRB is backed by publishers, so of course they're going to say it's not gambling, because they're quite happy with how the system works. But going back to the whole thing with it being like stickers or whatever, or like cards or something, I don't think you can really compare the two. We started talking about this on WhatsApp the other week, but these are the main reasons. So first of all, a sticker album doesn't cost £60, like when you first buy it. That's one thing. Also, the sticker album, you can complete it. Like, you can get all the stickers, you can put it in, you can complete it. You can't do that with consumables in games. You can continue just buying them indefinitely.
I agree with you, James, but you can get all the loot. You can get,
he's saying consumables. Once you consume it, they're gone. He's got a point.
Then... Let me continue. So then also, one of the other things that you can do is, if you get, you remember when you used to trade Panini stickers and stuff when we were kids? Yeah. It's you can trade them with each other. You can't do that with loot crates. You can't, if you get duplicates of stuff, you can't trade them. They're just yours. But the biggest problem with it is the fact that there's no spend cap.
You can in some games, I think, can't you?
Probably,
because in Rocket League you can.
Well, another thing is, say Dota, which isn't a loot box, but in many Steam games, you can sell the things that you've won and acquired, but anyway.
But not all. Okay, not all. Putting you down. Okay.
So, but then also, there's also with this, there's no spend cap at all with this. As in, you can keep on with some of them, you can just keep on continuously buying them.
Like stickers.
Yeah, I know, but you can still trade those if you wanted to. There's with these loot crates, you can't do that. In general, you can't really do that. My other problem with this is that, because I looked, this was people on ROMUP were talking about this, and the fact that if the ESRB, they have ratings and stuff, and one of them is gambling, as in one of the things that's got they stick on the box those stickers that say it has this and this. Well, if you look at a game like Yakuza, which has simulated gambling in it, it has people play, you can play poker and stuff like that in it, that gets a sticker saying it's got gambling in it. But if a game's got loot crates, there's no sticker. Why is that? Like, if you're playing like poker or whatever in Yakuza, you're not putting down any real money. It's just in the game. It's just a simulated version of it. Whereas you're actually doing gambling if you're doing with loot crates, but because they don't class it as it's not. I mean, as I said, my main problem with them is the ones that give you an advantage, because there's two reasons for this. One reason is because it becomes like it's highly addictive like behaviour, which is probably not healthy, like in general for some people. But then also the other problem is that I have is a game design one, which is that it means that the games are going to be designed around people, buying these, which is going to create like an experience which is not so good probably unless you buy them. Do you see what I mean? That's like my other sort of side issue with it. But the thing is, if people want to, my main overall thing with this is if people want to use loot crates, that's fine. But I do think there should be like sort of regulation, and there should be drop rates as well that are made very clear as to, like exactly, like what chances you've got of getting certain things.
So where's to try and give a better understanding of your moral stance, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where do you stand on sticker books?
Sticker books, I don't really have that huge problem with it. Because it's, as I said, there are limits to that. Whereas with this, there are no limits.
How about Kinder Surprise?
Again, you can trade them, and also they don't cost 60 quid when you buy one of them.
Mate, I tell you what,
James, how about Shopkins?
What's Shopkins?
Are you familiar with Shopkins? That's the thing you get in supermarkets, and they're like little gacha eggs or whatever, and you buy them, and there's like 70 in each series, and every time you go for like just a loaf of bread, your daughter wants a Shopkin, and they're like 4 quid, and you're like, which one will you get? Oh, I've already got that one, I want another one, etc., etc.
Yeah, but again,
what are your thoughts on gacha?
Yeah, but that's the thing, because that's that stuff is designed for kids where there's going to be like adult supervision. Of like, you're making the decision to buy that for your daughter. Whereas with this stuff, it's also being aimed at adults as well, who, maybe they have gambling problem, that kind of thing. It's not so good.
I mean, I definitely agree with you, because I spent, real money on Fire Emblem Heroes to get some good heroes after I spent, say, 250 coins that I'd earned in the game, and I blew all that, and I was like, I've got nothing to show for it. Let's bang 20 quid on, and yeah, I guess someone with who's possibly weaker could easily have spent way more. I managed to stop at 20.
So here's something. Would you be okay with it if the games were initially free?
I think that makes it less egregious. But then also.
But then, surely, James,
it needs to be regulated. It doesn't matter how much a game costs.
Surely that means that you don't care about the moral standpoint by it. And
let me finish, right? Even if it's free, though, I still think that there should be spend caps, and also it should be regulated still.
But, do you see what I mean? But everything you were saying about how the parent could be addicted and, it's bad for kids, why does that change because the game's free in the first place?
It doesn't. I'm not saying that is... What I'm saying is one of the hurdles is the fact that with gaming is that you've already put down 60 quid for something. That is like one of the hurdles. But it still doesn't... Even if it's free to play, that still doesn't stop it from being gambling. And I still think it should be regulated in that case.
Well, but then, again, that's what we're saying. Like, how does something go, say, from Kinder Surprise to loot boxes? What's the line between them when it goes from bit of fun to gambling? What's the line?
When there's no spend cap and you can't trade stuff.
But there's no spend cap on Kinder Surprise. You can buy as many as you want.
That's true, but then also you can trade them as well if you want to, or they do have some real world value.
So when you're given so if you get something in return of physical worth, of monetary worth, regardless of what it is, then that's okay.
Well, that's how gambling works.
Please don't think I'm having a pop at you, because what I'm trying to do is understand your moral standpoint rather than have a go at you about it.
Yeah, but that's how gambling works, though, isn't it? Like, in general. Like, if you bet on the horses, that's how it works.
What do you mean?
Well, you put down money, and then you might get something back from that. But what you get back from that is a physical object, like, in general, which is money.
Okay, no, what I'm saying is that it's not. You don't consider it gambling, and you don't consider it. Sorry, you don't consider it morally, like immoral, if regardless of win or lose, you get something at the end of it that has some sort of monetary value.
It depends, because it depends on if you know how likely it is that you're going to be able to get that or not.
No, that's what I'm saying. With a Kinder Surprise, you've always got something physical that you say that you can trade.
Yeah.
Right? And with sticker books, you say you always get something physical that you can trade.
Yeah.
Correct?
And also you can complete a collection as well.
Right. Okay. So your point is this. The moment there's that chance that you get nothing in return,
Or
that's when you
which,
have a problem with it.
Yeah, it's where you get nothing in return or something which you can't like do anything with at all, which will then pressure you to think you've got to do it again, like to get something of value.
Okay.
Do you see what I mean?
So,
But
would the answer to this,
either.
hold on, would the answer to this then for you be that if you could trade duplicates that you get from loot boxes in computer games with other people, that makes it okay?
I don't know, I'd have to think about that.
This
So,
is
Dave,
what
do you
I'm
say
saying. This is
duplicates
the
or
problem. And
duplicates?
duplicates. What did I say?
I always said duplicates.
I might have done, I don't know.
I say two.
I say two. See, this is the problem. How do you regulate it when, I mean, obviously there's someone that's got to come up with a better, standpoint than the three of us. Like, because we don't know much about gambling and we don't know, I don't think we're experts in the field and have enough knowledge to make a proper standpoint. But it's fucking hard to regulate. Like, I'm not saying it shouldn't be regulated because of that. What I'm saying is that it's a fucking trickier subject than some people are making out. And
absolutely, yeah.
When you've got to decide where to draw the line, because I mean, to be honest, I wouldn't mind if loot boxes went and Kinder Surprise went and fucking sticker books went. That wouldn't bother me at all. Right?
Mm-hmm.
I'll be a little bit upset if crane machines went. I'll be quite honest with you. I like them. I always do well on them. Matt might want to see them incinerated, but I'm quite a fan.
That bollocks as well.
But or heavy regulation on like loot boxes and stuff like that. And then when you say regulation, do you mean just every game with loot boxes becomes an 18?
No, I mean that every game would have to have certain rules attached to it, such as explaining what your odds are of winning basically.
But
because at the
again,
moment
right,
you have no idea.
If the odds were on there, that would then be okay?
I don't know. And then also it depends on which age group you're aiming this at as well.
Well, that's what I'm saying. So if it's an automatic 18 with loot boxes, then surely...
See, it's funny because like the stuff with like the Kinder Egg stuff is because like my son loves those and he loves collecting the stuff in them. I don't feel so bad about those, but what I really don't like, do you know those like blind bags you can get?
Oh,
which
yeah,
just
Matt
got like
was
whatever.
talking about
That's
the
my life
Gutchum stuff.
now.
Yeah, you see, I don't like those because that feels like a con, like and like it's you're like doing. I don't know.
But is it gambling?
I don't know. I'd have to think about that.
No, I need to think a lot about this.
No, because I need to know because I don't want to say yes or no because I'm not. I haven't thought about it enough yet to be able to
James,
sort of decide
tune
on that.
in next week for James' manifesto on gambling.
Yeah.
and our Ute. Because that's the other thing as well. I mean, as I said, I'm not particularly fond of loot crates. They've just not bothered me. Every time I've seen them, I've had fun opening loot crates and seeing what I'm getting. It's part of what Destiny addictions are based on. And I love it. I've not had to spend a penny more. I've not felt the need. And maybe I'm lucky that I haven't got that sort of thing inside me that eats away and makes me like forces money out of me or whatever. But I enjoy that sort of, what have I got? Ah, shit, I haven't got what I wanted. And then that occasional, yes, I got exactly what I was after. I like that. And it would be a shame to see it go. I do kind of understand it. I just don't know where the line is. And as I
said, the line for me with it, a lot of it is about, I mean, the cosmetic stuff I can kind of understand, and I don't think it's so kind of bad, although, as I said, it still does promote like the gambling side. But it's the advantages in games I think are still not that great. I think it's a terrible idea.
I think you need to think about your moral standpoint more, because it seems that you're fundamentally against gambling, and that it should be regulated.
No, I'm not fundamentally against gambling completely. What I'm saying is there should be sort of limits to this and regulation of it.
There should, but I don't think
there is in real life. I mean, if you look at like betting on like football or whatever like that, there are rules for this stuff. Whereas with this, there are none, and it just feels like this is another way that publishers can really get a lot more money out of people by preying on like habits they've got or whatever, and that feels kind of dirty.
But then I think when you say things like, "Oh, but I've got less of a problem with it if it's cosmetics," that kind of makes you think, "Hold on, well then, what's your standpoint then? I don't understand it."
No, because it depends. Because if it depends on what you're talking about. If we're talking about gambling, then yes, all of those things are problematic. But what if you start to talk about like game design, which is a separate issue with this? I think that's something that I think is a problem as well. If games are going to be designed to use this mechanic, it means that they'll be designed so that presumably doing like, even though maybe you can get these crates by like working hard or whatever in the game, they're going to make it so that it's not as entertaining or not so fun to do that instead of just spending money. Because otherwise,
but what do you think the consumer reaction would be to that? Because I don't think it'd be fucking positive.
That's what we're going to find out now, isn't it? Because that's what's going on, and this is why. I mean, I looked up that thing about the Battlefront thing, and what it is with that is you get these like star cards or whatever, and with it you can like get them from like playing in game. Like it is possible to get them, or you can buy it. You can buy them as well. This is the other way, like using like premium currency or whatever they call it.
But that's been in gaming for a while, though, right?
It has, yeah, but it was in gaming so that you could buy like something and you knew what you were getting, because that was the thing with Forza. Like how you could buy stuff, but you knew definitely you were going to get this. Whereas with the Loot Crate, you don't know if you're definitely going to get it. But what you're saying about like how it will negatively affect games, we're not going to know yet until we see how these things play out. Like we won't know until like how people react to this Battlefront 2 stuff, and also, I mean, Shadow of Mordor as well, like uses the same thing as well. We won't know until we see what the reaction is to that. Yeah, sorry, Shadow... No, hang on. Yeah, Shadow of War.
Yeah, Shadow of War,
yeah.
Okay, well, I mean, it's something to keep an eye on. I'd be interested to see how it unfolds. And I'd rather it be like that. I'd rather see what's going on than have a reactionary... That's what I'm saying. That's my stance. Because, there was a lot of noise about Destiny. When the shader stuff was first announced. Mm-hmm. And I've never seen such little, like, I have not cared about that at all, in the slightest. It's just not been an issue for me. So, I don't know. Let's see what happens. See what happens. Right, okay, next.
Well, the next story is kind of linked with that, but we've obviously... No. Obviously, if anybody is bothered about this, there is for what they're worth, an online petition from to try and get the government to debate this in the House of Commons. But currently, I don't think that many people have signed it, so I don't think it's probably going to go anywhere. But maybe
I'm surprised by that. I thought people would be all over that.
I don't know. Perhaps
it's got over 10,000, isn't it? So they need 10,000 to debate in Parliament, 100,000 to do something else with it.
Yeah,
no, consider it 10,000 to consider it for a debate, and 100,000 for it to definitely be debated. I think.
Yeah, they've got it's 11. Okay, they get 10,000. Over 10,000, you get a response, and over 100,000, they'll consider debating it in Parliament.
All right. Okay, go on.
It's currently 11,784.
All right. Okay, so they'll get a response to it. I think it will be debated. And I do think I think they'll jump in. I genuinely think they will.
Really?
But that's just, gut feeling. Okay, next.
So the next other story that happened this week was that IGN have acquired Humble Bundle, which is odd, because you've got here like a media company buying a games... It's publisher, isn't it? Not publisher.
Yeah, they're publishing now, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, not too sure about this.
I mean, IGN have obviously said that it's not going to let it affect their editorial integrity.
Well, they're hardly going to say it is going to.
That's what I was going to say.
Believe them.
Call me a twat, but I mean, what else are they going to say? Oh, no, this isn't going to... it's just... I'm surprised they've done this. Wouldn't you just fucking stay clear?
It's probably a good business opportunity, and they're probably losing advertising dollars. I So I imagine it's like, they're probably making good money. It's probably a good business proposition. So why not have it added to the portfolio? And it's a nice bit of revenue
because they
coming
cover
in.
games as their bread and butter, and they're now saying that they're going to publish games as well. What is going to be their standpoint when it comes to reviewing games that they've published or that their companies?
I guess
published?
they won't. I guess they can't.
Or like running adverts for them and stuff like that. It's a bit.
Well, running adverts is one thing anyway, isn't it? You could argue, games magazines, games websites have run adverts for games that they've reviewed, hundreds and thousands of times. But it just seems weird that they would even go there, Especially
they're asking. Questions will be asked immediately.
Well, that's why we're asking questions, and I think it's just a very, very strange decision. I don't see the point in going there. It must be really lucrative for them, but is it worth risking their own reputation for what they do? I don't know.
Yeah, it's a strange one.
What reputation do IGN have, though?
A bad one.
Yeah, mostly.
A bad one probably to a certain group of people, but they're still the biggest games media website in the world, so it can't be that bad.
Well, yeah, they're everywhere, aren't they? They're on everything.
But I think your own thing about it, I think sure you said it in the past, that just because 80 million people watch EastEnders doesn't mean it's good. And
no,
just because massive doesn't mean it's good or respected or has editorial integrity at all. Although this doesn't help at all.
See, the thing is, I've listened to IGN stuff and watched their stuff, and it's generally, I think it's fine. But you see, I wouldn't go to them for hard hitting journalism, like video games journalism, because it's not really what they do. But what they do is fine. I think it's
so.
Okay.
You think this is do you think this acquisition is fine?
I don't know. Probably not, because it is a bit weird, isn't it? The whole thing. It's. Yeah.
It is a bit, but I don't know. How much of a connection the website and games media coverage will have with the people that are running Humble Bundle, we'll never know. Mm-hmm. It's just, it will become really interesting when it comes to them covering games that maybe they shouldn't, and whether they do or not, I guess. Weird. It is weird.
Obviously, generally, these Humble Bundle, the Humble Bundle games at least, those are ones which have been out for a while, so I'm not too worried about that. It's when they're publishing brand new indie titles that you have to be worried. I don't see them covering them at all, which is going to be weird if the biggest games website on the planet isn't covering these indie titles, which would ordinarily need the support of someone like IGN to get the word out. But now IGN has sort of got their hands tied.
Yeah. Well, they could still advertise them on their website. Which that's not going to be a problem, is it?
It's just when it comes to reviews and videos and.
Well, maybe they don't. Maybe they're going to focus on not reviewing the titles and just whacking an ad up.
I'm going to pipe in with something actually, something unrelated.
Go on.
Okay, real-time follow-up, or semi-real-time follow-up. Dave, obviously last week or 2 weeks ago, talked about the SNES Mini. You said, I don't see the point of it. I know we covered this earlier in the show, but you said, wouldn't it be great if you could play real SNES games? Well, a company called Analog Inc. have announced today.
I saw this today.
They've announced today they're basically making a SNES console that basically takes real cartridges. It's going to be 140 quid. I think pre-orders go live today. It's called the Super NT. So, would you buy one of these things for 140 quid?
No, of course I wouldn't. But
just buy another Super NES. Why do you need to buy this?
Because this plugs into TV with HDMI and zero input latency.
Okay.
Well,
CRT TV. Play on that.
Hold on. Wait. Surely this is more interesting than the SNES Mini, isn't it, James?
I guess so, but it's also how is this going to work though? Because presumably Nintendo aren't going to be that happy.
Well, this is what I was thinking. What are the legalities? How is this legal?
I've no idea. But in the past, this company has also done the Analog NT Mini, so which I presume is the equivalent of the NES. So they've obviously got a history doing this. It's not some random new company that's just thinking about doing it. So. Yeah, legally they must be in a good place to now work on a second one. Yeah.
It's bizarre.
I'll be all over that, Dave.
The problem with it is obviously getting games is still not as easy as if you buy a SNES Mini, and also it hasn't got Star Fox 2.
You're kidding me.
Have you ever been to... I asked Dave last week. It's easy to get. Go CEX.
You go to any CEX, there's piles of them.
Yeah, they're usually really expensive.
Like 10, 15, if that.
And it's usually all the same ones as well.
There's a place in Croydon. I went into a place in Croydon not too long ago, and they had fucking cabinets of SNES games. And I'm not kidding.
It's usually just like 1 million copies of Super Mario All Stars. It's a game.
What else do you need?
You can't get Star Fox 2 on it. You'd have to. That's the only way you can get.
From what I've heard, that's not a bad thing.
Yeah, also true.
I don't know. I suppose the carts are more expensive or whatever, but at least surely it's got to be better than emulation. Andy was saying that he was like the emulated games that he was playing on his SNES Mini was like suffering from slowdown and stuff. That's just fucking insane. I don't know. Whatever. I'm not a retro gamer. I won't play any of these.
I'd still just rather be playing these games on Switch, but that ain't gonna happen.
True.
Amen to that.
What?
I said amen to that.
Amen to that. What are you in a Jerry Springer audience? What is this?
Get ready for my final thought at the end of the show.
Go on. I don't think they let the audience members do that, actually, Matt. Is that it for the news?
Yeah, that's it.
Right, let's get to what you've been playing. Matt, let's start with you this week.
Oh, it's been a good week. So many games to play. And yeah, they all just fell by the wayside pretty much because of Stardew Valley. Now, we talked about this last week, but I was only like 2 or 3 hours in. I don't think we really gave a good account of it because I haven't played much. So we're going to start from the beginning. Stardew Valley. It's been out on every platform pretty much. So for those of you who have played this for years, know how good it is. You might as well switch off now. But obviously it's out on Switch now, and I think a lot of people, I've certainly read a lot of people, have been waiting for it to come out on Switch because it felt like such a great platform for it, and it certainly feels that way for me. So the game. So I described it last week as sort of Animal Crossing, sort of Harvest Moon-like. The rough sort of narrative is at the beginning of the game, you're working at a place called JoJo. You're working at their headquarters in this soul-destroying corporate office job. And JoJo, they're like a big supermarket. Basically, your granddad had died previously, and he left you a letter, and the letter said, when the pressures of real life get too much, or if you're sick of modern life, open this letter. You open the letter, and it turns out he's left you his farm at Stardew Valley for you to pursue the simple life. You get to Stardew Valley, and there's a massive JoJo supermarket in town. And Morris, like the owner, he's like trying to get everyone there and yourself to buy a JoJo membership. And if everyone does that in town, he'll knock down this old dilapidated community centre in town, to make way for a JoJo warehouse. And that's the basic premise. That's a super loose narrative.
Is that intentionally supposed to be depressing? Oh, we're going to knock down this community centre and replace it with a warehouse. Yeah.
I think it pretty much is, yeah.
So it's like they're supposed to be seen as the bad guys.
Yeah, both. Yeah. The base is huge. Essentially, it's like an Asda coming to like a little village saying, "Look, we're going to knock down your community centre and we need it for a warehouse." All the residents will be pissed off, and that's very much the sort of the mentality in this game. Which is funny because obviously it starts off you're working at JoJo, but then then you have this choice.
We see the irony.
Yeah. Yep. So Stardew Valley. Obviously, loads of people have been talking about this on recent weeks and certainly in other podcasts. Certainly last year when everyone was talking about it for like Game of the Year, or certain people were talking about it for Game of the Year stuff. But this last week, I think I've put about 20 out. I think I'm up to 20 hours played now, and it's just consumed me. I'm fully obsessed with this game.
What's it doing to consume you? Like, what? How is it grabbing you?
So. Yeah, the basic premise of the game, I've told you the narrative, but essentially you wake up every day and you can like fish, for fish obviously you can do mining, you can grow crops, but the best thing is every single day is filled with new opportunities. When you wake up every day, I never plan what I'm going to do in a particular day. It would be based on maybe what crops have grown. And if I've grown like a bumper load of crops, I might take those to the shop to sell them. Or I might use them to complete bundles, in the community centre. So the community centre, as it stands at the beginning of the game, it's a dilapidated old building. You go in it and you can basically, it's got these little sections within it that ask you to maybe submit or collect certain types of fish or certain types of crop, or like winter crops, summer crops. And as you do this, you basically gradually unlock different parts of the community centre, or I think you can basically fix parts of the community centres, but also things in towns, like a bus to a desert, which doesn't work at the beginning of the game. And actually, for me, currently, doesn't work. But if you collect certain types of fish, certain types of crop, and other sort of things that you might find around the place, you'll gradually, I get the impression of restoring this community centre. So yeah, if I have loads of crops, I might do that, or I might take them and sell them into town. If it's say raining, I might do some mining. If it's not, I might do some fishing. It feels like every day I wake up and I think, what am I going to do today? And it really is dependent on the environment, the weather, or what crops I've got. And that simple loop is ridiculously addictive.
So when you say do some fishing, do some crop, what's the gameplay like? What are you actually doing day to day?
So a standard day would be I would wake up and then I have lots of crops. So the first thing I'll do would be I'll go and water all those crops. Now I've got a massive farm, and you can choose which type of farm you have at the beginning. I just went for the standard farm. I've got a massive load of land, most of which is overrun by trees and rocks and stuff. I've only really cleared out a very tiny section. I've got some crops. So I start every day and I water those crops.
But in terms of gameplay, what does that involve? Like, what are you just pressing a button near the crops?
Yeah. It basically involves like pressing, just going alongside the crops and pressing a button on the pads, and then doing that for everyone. So you can just go right click. You can get sprinklers and you can do things to automate that, but right now I'm still doing it by hand. So in fact, after watering all my crops, I may be out of most of my energy. So it doesn't mean I can do an awful lot in the afternoon, although you can eat items to give you more energy and stuff. But yeah, so you start a day and you'll be watering crops, unless it's raining, in which case you can do what you want. After that, you might go and meet people in town. You might go and do some fishing. Fishing is really simple. Some people found it quite frustrating, but it's a simple mini game whereby you drop your fishing. You basically like throw your line in the water. The little fishing line will bob a bit, and then sometimes it will vibrate and wobble, and that's when you hit the button to pull the fishing rod up. And then there's a little mini game where you see this bar. And every time you hit the button, you're moving this little green box, of which the fish is moving around, and you've got to contain it in the box. It's quite hard to describe. Okay. It's really super simple mechanics, but even that's quite satisfying. And there's tons of different types of fish, depending on whether you're in the lake, if you're lake fishing, river fishing, night fishing, sea fishing. So there's loads of different types of animal fish in this example, depending on where you are. I don't think it's seasonal, but yeah, so yes, you'll do that, and maybe the fish you want can be saved towards these bundles to support and restore the community centre. Maybe someone in town wants a salmon, you might give that to someone as a gift. Maybe you'll just think, oh, these are brilliant, I'll just put these in a little trunk by your house, and everything that's in the trunk overnight gets sold, and you get loads of money for that stuff. But one of the great things compared to Animal Crossing is that days can really last as long as you want. Unlike Animal Crossing, where I found that after a while, I'll play for say 20 minutes a day, and I've done all the bits I have to do on that day, and I have to wait till the next day. For this, you can have a day last 5 minutes. You'll basically do what you want, go to bed. It's the next day suddenly, or you can do as much as you can before your energy runs out, and then you go to bed. So I feel like you can get through a lot more without having to wait for real life time to tick by. And the whole one more day thing is super, super addictive, because you would have maybe grown some crops. So next day you think, oh, I wonder if those crops are grown. I wonder if I'll get some random posts from a villager. I wonder what the weather's like. And if it's raining, I'll do some mining. Maybe I've upgraded a weapon or an item, and you think, okay, I think it could be ready today. So what gets you, and what certainly got me, is I'll put everything in the trunk to sell. I'll go to bed. It then tells you how much you've made based on the stuff you've sold, and then it's the next day. Now, the moment you go out of your house, that's it. You'll be playing now for another 10, 15, 20 minutes. You'll do another day, definitely, because you think, okay, I've got crops to buy, or crops to sell or grow, or I want to catch this or do this. And maybe one of the crops goes towards a bundle. Maybe a villager wants a certain crop, or there's an event in town. And it's all about that whole one more day it's such a one more go, like, addictive thing. It's amazing.
The way you're describing it makes it sound a little bit like those clicker games that we got so addicted to.
Absolutely. It's like Farmville and stuff like that.
No way! Don't even fucking say that.
Hold on, let me finish, because what you're basically describing is very monotonous.
Yeah.
But it doesn't
it's very
feel
monotonous
that at all.
gameplay that you can build, like, you're always building on what you're doing. So you're doing repetitive, monotonous gameplay, but it's building up, and everything you're doing is sort of going towards something. It feels like that's how it sounds to me.
It's not that way at all, I don't find. So, although James said last week that it's a lot more focused than Animal Crossing, you can make it as focused or as unfocused as you want. You can spend all your time just doing farming and growing loads of amazing crops to get loads of money to buy more upgrades for your house, or you can ignore that completely and just do mining. And I've got quite a relatively modest area where I've got crops, and I'll just do that for a bit of extra money. But I spend most of my time mining, and then so you can go into the mines, and you basically clear out this level of the mine, and you got to find the stairs down. And for every fifth level you go on, you basically see an elevator or lift, sorry. And that means next time you can just go straight to that floor rather than having to go from floor 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I'm down to like level 4.
Okay. So let's take that as an example. What does clearing out a mine involve?
So you go to each floor, and there are loads of rocks there, and you use your pickaxe to clear them. When you do that, you might get some stones which you can use for crafting. You might get, I think they're called geodes, which are these little eggs which you need to take to the blacksmith, because he can open them, and you might get iron or gold or something in there, which is quite cool. But there are also enemies, and even the combat is sort of like old school Zelda, that are quite simplistic, but also quite satisfying.
See, because again, this is all just... I'm not slagging the game off. I've not played it, so please don't think that I'm having a pop at the game here. What I'm saying is that the addictive nature of this game feels a lot like when we were playing that Pocket Universe thing. You know, you keep tapping away, and then you're building stuff up, and then I'm assuming when you're saying, you can buy sprinklers and stuff, that's how you get to progress things quickly.
Like it just means you can automate it. And I say, if you get a much, much bigger farm, you'll spend all your day just watering, whereas you can get sprinklers and automate that stuff. But all the mechanics in this game are just fun and satisfying. And like I said, I've done loads of mining just because it's fun to go from floor to floor. And if you also have an energy bar, then if you run out of energy in the mine, you'll basically lose a bit of money. If you get killed in the mine, you'll lose maybe some of your items. So even like if that was like what the whole game was, just the mining, then it'll be super simplistic and rather boring. But as just one part of this game with tons of other fun little mechanics, I think it's brilliant. So even fishing is fun. You can spend a whole day or days fishing, mining, growing crops, and talking to the residents within the town is fun. So you get to meet different people, you get to try and work out what they like and what they don't like.
So I had an understanding that there was a lot of like subplots in this, that you can get wrapped up in stories, and like, you know, the quests evolve over time. Is that true?
That is true. I mean, admittedly, I haven't really focused on a lot of the relationship stuff right now. I'm still trying to get some money behind me, get all the crops sorted. So I've largely ignored a lot of the residents. I have like spoken to a few, but I haven't really properly tried to get friendly with everyone. So with every resident in town, there are 10 heart like icons. If you look in one of the menus, you can see all the various residents. You can give residents gifts. I mean, you can give like up to like 2 gifts to each resident a week, and you gradually learn what these residents like, and with the aim of, I think if you get 10 hearts filled, then you can basically marry that resident. But I haven't dealt with the relationship stuff. I talk to people, say hi and whatnot. And some people are wankers and some people are really nice. But I haven't really properly focused on, okay, this person likes this, so I'm going to grow this and give this to them to eventually be sort of their husband or wife or whatever. Because you can go in all the residents' houses, but you can't go into their bedrooms unless you're a friend. It says so. I try and get in everyone's bedrooms. It says you don't know Marnie well enough for that. So get out of here, basically.
Yeah, Matt, come on, read the signs.
I just wanted. But basically, like the mayor has lost his purple shorts, and I believe they're in Marnie's room, but I can't get in Marnie's room because I haven't buttered her up. I haven't given her what she wants yet. So, but I've really sort of largely been ignoring that. Although there has been a few, say, cutscenes. I was walking through the village the other night, and suddenly Linus, who is this guy who lives in a tent, who a lot of residents are throwing rocks at because they don't like him, he was snooping around in someone's bin, and basically the other residents weren't happy that he wasn't eating food out of their bins. But now he's done that. He's told me I can do that, and now I also go around and eat people's food out of their bins. In fact, there was this summer fair whereby they asked everyone to bring your best produce to the summer fair, and I had loads of the crops you can basically get like standard crops, but also you get like silver stars and gold star crops, and you can also add fertilizer to tilled soil to have a better chance of getting his gold star or whatever. I think I had to bring 9. I had 7 gold star crops. I thought brilliant, but I also found a chocolate cake and a rhubarb crumble in the bin, and I thought I'll add them into my display. I think no one's going to notice, and I came second in the end. People said that the produce was beautiful. They obviously didn't realise that 2 of those items had come from the bin, but no one found me out, so it's all good. Yeah,
it's just I don't know. It's just I mean, James, have you played this much?
Yeah, I played some more of it. You see, I do like this game, and it has started to get its hooks into me more. But it's also a lot of hard work.
The problem I have with this, because I was listening back to the show from last week when I was editing, and what I don't get because I can see why Matt loves this game. I think it's one of those games that manages to play on the addictive nature of repetitive building, I suppose is the right way of putting it. Your main complaint about this game from last week was that it's not Animal Crossing. And I just thought that was a weird fucking complaint to make.
No, the reason for that is because Matt kept on saying it was like Animal Crossing before we got it, and it's not. It's it's not like that at all.
Right, okay.
Yeah. I think it's similar.
I don't think it is.
You can decorate a house. You can talk to villagers. There's little quests. There's little events. You can. It's got some elements for it. Definitely, it's way more Harvest Moon with growing crops.
It's a lot more Harvest Moon. Yeah. It's not a bad game. Like I said, it's just that I don't know. It just feels it's a lot of work. Like you said, it's all like having to water all this stuff and having to plant things, and you can do all that in Animal Crossing as well. But it's not quite the same.
And just do fishing. You don't have to grow anything. You can leave.
But you still have to do something. It's like, it's like...
Well, otherwise don't bother playing it if you're concerned about
because that's the thing though, because when you play like Animal Crossing, you can just hang around and just, chat with the stupid villagers and stuff.
You can do that in this.
It's different. Yeah, but they're really boring, Matt, and they don't even talk back after you talk to them once. You just say you talk to them once and they just say something like, it's raining today, isn't it? And that's it. And it's like, you don't, it's just not as...
You've got to get to know them, I believe. I mean, I can see that accusation myself. I mean, they do have quite rather limited dialogue compared to, say, Animal Crossing, but I believe that stuff will get bigger and better as you get to know people more, certainly when you get to marry
James,
them,
isn't it a good thing that it's not Animal Crossing?
Yeah,
isn't it a good thing that it's a different game?
It is good, yeah.
So then why do you always come back to Animal Crossing?
I don't. It's Matt that brought up Animal Crossing to begin with. I just... stop winding me up.
I'm not winding you up. Anyway, you brought it up twice in your... okay, whatever.
Anyway, basically, the basic core gameplay loop of this game is so addictive. It's just so addictive, and I love it. And also, this feels like very much like a me game, but I haven't checked a guide. I'm not min-maxing like I would do normally. It's super, super relaxing. I just feel like, I'll just do whatever I want to do in a day. I'm not making sure I do this to do this to do this. I'm just waking up saying, I might do some mining today or some fishing, because those are fun. and I like, saying them get money to potentially updo my house someday. I haven't done that yet. You can buy, like, say, TVs and wallpapers and actually build extensions to the house. I haven't bothered with that yet. It's just, the music's absolutely gorgeous. The writing that I've seen so far is really fun. There's definitely feels like there's a bit of an air of mystery in the game. Like, I randomly found a chance upon this house where there's a frog selling hats, and I bought this rain hat. I also blew up this wall in the mines, and I found these guys which talk in different language. I don't know how to decode or understand what they're saying.
So with the hat thing, why is that good? What makes that good?
Because I was just walking around the forest and I find this random building selling hats where there's like just a frog there. I don't know where that goes or what that's about, but I just thought it was interesting. There's also a wizard at one point.
I think one of the things that you haven't really touched on yet, that I think we're the same with games in this ilk, is that with the hidden surprises is always a big thing for you, isn't it? When a game stuff. When out of nowhere there's this thing in this game and you're like, what? And then you follow it down a wormhole and then you find something that you had no idea was in the game. That's a big thing for you, isn't it?
Oh yeah, I love that stuff, and I feel like there's lots of mystery in this game already.
There's lots of it in this, yeah.
Yeah, there's also
that makes sense.
There's also little statues with rabbits, and they've all different colours on, and I'm not quite sure where that goes. There's this wizard in this tower, and I get an impression that I'll be able to like cook up broths and do all sorts of stuff, but he says I can't go into his library or the spell books are because he doesn't know me well enough yet. Yeah,
so you haven't been on a Reddit to look any of this stuff up yet?
No, I've been on the Reddit, but I haven't said, what does a wizard do? How do I min-max a wizard or get like the quest chain? I'm just, if I'm saying I have looked a little bits here and there, but certainly nothing like I would do in any other game. It's just, I almost don't want to know either. Like, half the joy is working it out on your own or seeing how it's going to play out. And as much as I've been playing this over the last week, I don't want to rush it. I'm just enjoying. It's just super, super relaxing to play, and it's really fun. And I think I'm going to put I reckon this is going to be one of my most played games of the year. And it's also made me fall in love with my Switch again. It's just so perfect for that. Obviously I can dock the Switch, and I docked it once for like 5 minutes just to see what it looked like on the TV. But everything else has been handheld. I've taken my Switch to work every day. I've been playing at lunchtime, playing on the train to and from work. Yeah, it's just super fun. One of the criticism, well, I guess it's a criticism, is one of the things I loved about Animal Crossing is I love the real life, the things that relate to the time or the day in real life. Like, I like the thing on Sundays where you bought turnips. Obviously this doesn't have that because the days are as long or as short as you make them, and so it's never going to do that. But that's one of the things from Animal Crossing that I do miss. But yeah, it's just so fun, so addictive. And it took me the first few hours, I'm like, what's the point? What do I do? But I feel like now I'm understanding, okay, I can buy and sell things at a shop. I can give them to residents. I can complete these bundles. The bundles are really fun because I'm like, okay, I want to collect these fish. You just go fishing. Like, I've got 2 of these, brilliant. I'll give them I'll try and complete a bundle, and I'll try and unlock a bit of the community centre. And it's so fun. Are you going to try and play more, James, or not bother?
Yeah, definitely. I'm definitely going to continue playing it, and hopefully get some more out of it. It's
sitting there playing it with his Animal Crossing t-shirt on, just cursing it because it's not Animal Crossing.
Matt has brought Animal Crossing up multiple times during this. I've not said it once. Whatever.
Oh, James, you've lied a lot on this podcast, but you can't say that you've not mentioned Animal Crossing once.
Yeah, of course I have. But I just want Animal Crossing on Switch. It's just not going to happen, though, is it? What's happened to that? What's happened to that mobile game that I was supposed to be working on? That's supposed to be out this year. It looks like it's gone all quiet.
By the wayside.
I mean,
James,
hate it. I really do want you to play the game, and you probably you probably just won't want to like it because it's not Animal Crossing, etc. And maybe I've talked about it too much, but I have a feeling that the more you play it, you will suddenly say, "Oh yeah, actually, this is incredible."
Actually, this is the best.
It's good, but I'm not at the amazing stage yet because
I think the more you play it, I think you will definitely hit that. I think in a few weeks you'll play. Oh yeah, Animal Crossing. Stardew Valley is fucking brilliant.
See, I'm going to be curious to see if you're still playing this in a couple of weeks. That's
Yeah, so am I actually, because I'm hitting it pretty hard at the moment, and I'm like, well, maybe I'll get bored. I'm almost so each season is 28 days in game time, and I'm in winter now, and I've actually just realised the day before winter that you can't grow crops in winter. And I haven't really planned anything. I did manage to grow like 30 pumpkins on the last and harvest them on the last day of fall. Give me like 15 grand. So I got 25 grand in the bank. But now I've realised.
Hang on, Matt. The last day of what?
Well, they call it fall in the game. Last day of autumn, whatever. I now realise that you can't grow crops in winter. So I don't know what I'm going to do there. But you can.
What happens? Is there like a proper game over at any point? You lose everything.
No, I don't believe there is. I think you just keep going. I'm sure you can collect everything and totally restore the community centre, but I believe the game just carries on indefinitely.
Fair enough. Are you going to stream any of this?
I was thinking that today. I might do it. I'm not sure if it is. Like, it's not a particularly interesting game to look at, but I might do.
Why have you stopped streaming? You spent so long setting it all up, and you've just stopped
playing games.
You've just put 20 hours into Stardew Valley.
Yeah, but I've been doing it on the bus, on the train and stuff. I played.
If you want to see Matt stream this game, then send a message.
I'll happily do that. I'll happily do that.
We'll do it then.
Well, once I've got more time to do that sort of stuff, I'll definitely be doing it.
Oh, come on, guys. Just subscribe to us. Subscribe through Twitch. Subscribe through Twitch. Okay, now I'm not going to go on it anymore. I'm not going to. Come on. We need to get these. We need to pay these subscribers. We need to give them what they want, Matt. Otherwise, they'll all fuck off to John Denton. None of us want that.
None of us want
that.
I did also play a bit of Iron Banner in Destiny 2 for one evening. Have you played any of that, Dave?
Disappointing this year, isn't it?
It's really disappointing. So Iron Banner, for those of you who aren't familiar with it, so it's a Destiny 2 PvP event, so multiplayer event, and in Destiny 1 at least, it was really based on your light levels. So things weren't normalized in terms of light levels where everything is pretty much the same. If you had a really high light level and great weapons, that made a big difference in multiplayer. And that was really fun, to have have a really good loadout, really good build of weapons and whatnot, and go out against the best against people with really high light levels. Now in Destiny 2, that is not there. So this is just another multiplayer mode. Also in Destiny 1, for Iron Banner, it's an event that lasts a week. And previously you would basically, the more you played, you went up ranks, and then you went to like level 1, and then you can meet this guy called Lord Shaxx, and in Destiny 1 at least, you could, if you're level 1, you could buy certain things from him, rank, level 2, up to around level 5, and you try to get up to level 5 because that is when you could buy the best items from him. This year, that's gone as well, and it's just you just get tokens when you win or lose games. And
which, for those of you that don't know about Destiny 2, I mean, that's the same as every other...
I think there's 8 vendors. There's basically like 3 or 4 different areas. There's PvP, there's multiplayer tokens, there's single player tokens, and basically it's just another vendor where you can earn tokens.
Yeah, it's just that's the thing. Iron Banner used to be an event that was totally different to anything else in the game. Now it's not. It's just another bit of Destiny 2, which is disappointing. It's really disappointing.
I used to love Iron Banner. Now it's just... Also, so when you get 20 tokens, that's when you basically give them into Lord Shaxx, and you get an engram, and it could be anything from this selection of Iron Banner armor or weapons or shaders or whatever. And it's just... I played one evening of it, and it's just boring, whereas normally I'll be hammering in all week to get to rank 5, to get to buy the best weapons, and I just feel like... I can't be bothered with it. I mean, it's fun because Destiny is fun, but it's nothing like what I used to love about Iron Banner. That's the thing.
I mean, I've been playing it. I played it for a couple of nights this week, and I enjoyed my time because it's Destiny Crucible, and I think it's brilliant this time round. However, it felt absolutely no different from just playing normal Crucible. It had no difference whatsoever.
It was awesome that they brought that Destiny 1 map. Is it like Shades of Time or something? The control map where you
even noticed that. I didn't see it.
I love the fact that they brought that back. Where there's like caves and whatnot, and there's one of the control points where you jump up on this bridge-like area,
I know the map you're talking about. Yeah, but
they brought that back.
Shit.
It's so good playing on that map because that is one of the best maps they've ever done. And I love that map from Destiny 1, so I was happy to do that. I love Control. I had some great games, and it was fun, but it's just another multiplayer mode. It's just another way to grind for loot and earning more tokens, and it wasn't...
It just doesn't feel different. That's the
Iron
point.
Banner.
It doesn't feel different. Yeah. Iron Banner's lost its name a bit. Shame.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
One other game I've got. I'll be quick. So I played The Invisible Hours, which is it's a VR game on PSVR and also on Vive by Tequila Works, the guys who made Rime. It's a murder mystery game set predominantly in this one location of this mansion. And I've only played like an hour probably about 2 hours of this. I would play more, but fucking hell, not Animal Crossing. But Stardew Valley got its hooks into me, so I didn't play much. But this game. So before you even start the game, you're walking basically in first person into this theatre, and eventually you sit down in this theatre seat and you see like a curtain in front of you and you hear like the crowd whispering, and then the game starts. So it's already trying to get you to think as if it's a live action theatre, and it's a weird way of doing it, but so you're in this game, you're sat in this theatre basically watching this live theatre thing, whatever. The game properly starts once you're sat down. You're watching this character get off this boat next to the sea, and you're walking up this wooden staircase on a wet and windy afternoon, and you get to this courtyard of this big mansion. You see a woman crying. It transpires that you've been invited to his house for the weekend by Nikola Tesla, who's a real guy from the olden days. So sorry. So before you continue, you're playing as an audience member, or you're playing as someone in the play? Well, you're basically you're playing as no one. You're basically the camera. So you don't have a character. You're just able to follow other people in this game.
So there's no actual gameplay involved. It's just a...
Well, yeah. So the gameplay is, yeah. So just to continue. So you go into this house. As you go into the house, the guys who invited you there, called Nikola Tesla, he's found dead in the main hallway. The main character that you follow to walk into the house is his disgraced detective. It's like Swedish detective, I think. No, he's American, but whatever. And basically, it's his task. Then he says to interview everyone and to work out how this murder took place. What you can do is you can let the gameplay basically play out. So these conversations are happening, characters are walking around this building, but you can rewind time, fast forward time, and you can follow various characters. So when in chapter 1, you can basically just let the game play itself, and you can basically watch. You can basically follow, say, one character, and he'll go into his room, have a conversation, and then go somewhere else. And then that could be they'll say chapter 1's over. But then I would then switch to another character, or, move around the house, watch another character, rewind to the start of the chapter, see what they did, what they said. There are 7 people in this house. There's like this, there's a convicted murderer. There's this, what they class as the world's most famous actress. There's Tesla, who's dead, his former assistant. There's also Thomas Edison, the also real life inventor. So there's all these people. I think there's 7 people in the house, and you're basically there to investigate how Tesla died and whatnot. And yeah, it's really interesting because you might listen to one conversation and think you know how that conversation's gone down, you understand what people said, but then you might rewind and actually what you see in a previous scene or what that character said to someone else totally changes what you then saw in that conversation you just had. Or you might see, you might go to know a totally different part of the house and see 2 other people conspiring against the people that come into other conversations. So just listen to conversation once, or following one person through the house is just literally one tiny part of the story. And I've already found some interesting twists where one guy is talking about his past life or something that happened in the past, and then you'll go and I looked at this other character, see what they do, and they revealed something that basically changed how I thought about the first character. And yeah, it's really, really interesting. Like I said, I've only played like 2 hours. The time thing is a subject I want to talk about because basically Eurogamer reviewed it and said that the whole game you can basically do in 2 hours. Now, I believe basically if you literally just pressed play on the game and what followed one character through the game, and I think there's 4 or 5 chapters, it probably would last 2 hours, but that isn't how the game's played. Like, the first chapter took me 2 hours because I went through every single character and watched them from the start of chapter to the end and made sure I worked out every conversation. So for a Eurogame, it'd say the whole thing lasts 2 hours. I think it's a really weird criticism, and it feels like they didn't even play the game properly at all. Because there's literally no way they could have done the whole game in 2 hours. Unless they literally just pressed play and then didn't even interact with it. Not if they were listening to all the other conversations and seeing what the other characters had to say.
Yeah, so it's like those people that say, well, actually, you can play the whole of Dark Souls without leveling up. So you're like, yeah, but you're never going to do that first playthrough, are you?
Yeah. So basically, the writing is really, really strong. It's really engaging. The voice acting is really good. There are all the voice actors have done like motion capture, and they've all done. I watched a couple of like behind the scenes where they've all done all rehearsed the scenes if it's a proper play, and the voice acting and the writing is really good. Each of the characters has a really interesting backstory and depth that I sort of didn't really expect. Graphically, though, this thing looks really, really blurry. It looks not great. And even I looked on Steam at what people were saying about the Vive version, and they say that doesn't look great either. So it's not off-putting, it just does not look great.
I remember when I watched that, do you remember the video that you had? It was some like French cartoon that played out in front of you. I remember watching that and thinking it was the quality of the visuals there was so much worse than it was in, say, you know, a game like, you know, all the other games we were playing in the Playroom or whatever. It's weird when it seems like when you're not moving forward constantly, when you're stopping and staring and looking at things, it really does highlight how low resolution the screens are on PSVR.
Yeah. I mean, there's no there's very little screen door effect, and that's where you can't really see the lines between the pixels, and that's really noticeable on Vive and Oculus. So PSVR's got that, but it's super low res. It's not off-putting, and like I said, I'm definitely going to keep playing it because although Tequila Works said this can't be done in VR without VR, I think it probably could. It works really well in VR, and it does feel like a bit more of a grown-up use of it. And yeah, the ability to just fast forward and listen to different conversations, to learn different things about the characters, which changes the context of what you've just heard, is really good. And there's already been a couple of twists, as I say, so looking forward to seeing how the rest of it plays out. Yeah,
I look forward to hear what you think of it by the end. I mean, I said before when we were first talking about VR, I'm really interested to see what it does for the arts, you know, and putting someone in a different perspective when it's more of a scene playing out rather than a game that you're playing. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
I think that
this does seem to work perfect for VR. And yeah, it's good. Good so far,
cool.
Anyway.
Right, I'll do mine then, because I've been playing a lot more Golf Story. In fact, I've been playing that consistently throughout the week. And last week I said I thought I was near the end, and Scientologist put me right on Twitter and said, no, still got a while to go, and he's right. So I'm really happy. I'm really happy that I still had a lot more to go. There's been some crazy shit happening in that game since we last spoke. I don't want to ruin too much, but, you know, there's been like murder mystery bits. There's been bits where I'm going through haunted houses and winning. It's spiraled out of control, the story, yet has still remained consistently funny throughout. The challenges, they get harder as you go along. Some of them I'm getting really stuck on, but I'm just determined to stick with them until I've got them done. And yeah, really interesting.
How many hours have you put into so far? Because when I hear RPG, I think it's going to be like 60 hours. And
No. Because as I said, it's more of a golf game than it is an RPG. I think I've put about 15 hours into it. And reading on forums and stuff, it feels like a 20-hour game, maybe a little bit less. So, you know, there's a lot of gameplay there, but I'm just really enjoying it. Really, really enjoying it still. And I can't wait to get back to it. I had to tear myself away from it to start podcasting tonight. It's really good. The other game I've been playing is Middle-earth: Shadow of War. I had no intention. Shadow of War, is that it?
Yeah.
So that was cool. It's hard to tell. I had no intention of playing this. And Mark said, look, we need someone to review it. Can you review it? And I said, yes. And within 3 days, I'd emailed back and said, this is Mark from Spong, by the way. And I said, I don't think I can review this. So, those that have played Shadow of Mordor, I mean, did you play the first one, Matt?
No, I didn't know. I like.
I'm
Lord
surprised because you're a
films,
Lord of the Ring fan,
never
aren't
did.
you?
Well, I'm not. I like the films, and I've read the book, of course, but no, I never did.
Right, see, because I've got no interest in it. I've got zero interest in it, and there came a point when I was actually chatting to Andy from Spilt Milk Studios and said, "Oh, there's a character in it, and this happens," and he said, "Oh yeah, that's such and such. She used to be this, now she's this," and I'm like, right. There's far more story and Lord of the Rings stuff in this than I ever thought there would be. I thought in the first one, from discussions I had with people, it was more of just a license thrown at a game rather than a game based around a license. This feels very license driven.
I think the thing you're talking about, I think you're talking about the Shelob, the Spider Woman, aren't you? Is that the character?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they've obviously taken a lot of the source material and done things with it, but I get the impression it uses that quite well.
Yeah, I have no doubt that it does that quite well. What I'm saying is that as someone who's not into Lord of the Rings, not into fantasy, not into any of this stuff, it feels like I'm missing such a huge draw for this game, such a huge part of it. Now, talking about the first game with friends and stuff, it didn't feel like it was that sort of game that had so much of the Lord of the Rings. It felt almost like a standalone thing that you could just jump in on. This certainly doesn't feel like that. And it makes me think that, hey, I should not be reviewing this because it would be unfair for me to put a number on it based when I'm not even understanding a large portion of the game. And the more I've played it, the more I've noticed that there's so many references and so much stuff in it that I'm just not going to understand, not going to get. That I sort of said, okay, hold my hands up. This is above me. This game's above me. And it's not been the first time I've had to sort of put my hands up and say I can't review it, and it won't be the last. But Mark replied back and said, yeah, absolutely no problem, I get it, but can you write something about what it's like to play the game if you're not into this sort of stuff? Like, how does the gameplay hold up as an open world game? Is it good? And the more I play it, yeah, the better it is as an open world game. Even though I don't understand what's going on, what the characters are, what their backgrounds are, why there's a ghost inside this fella. I don't understand any of this stuff. Because I didn't play the first game either, so I can't really compare, I can't take the story from that and I can't compare what is improved on, all that sort of stuff. All I can say is that an open world game, it does an incredibly good job of trying to make everything fun. So it shaves away all of the annoying stuff you get with open world games and kind of tries to get you to a point where you're enjoying yourself as quickly as possible. There's stealth in it, right? But if you get seen, it is literally no problem. I mean, I've been in stealth mode, walking up to someone, basically bang on into their eye line, and I didn't get caught until I got really close. All I would do is just walk around the side of them a bit, and then I could stealth kill them. It doesn't punish you and send you back like so many of these games do. For example, when you play Assassin's Creed, if you get seen in that, it's a complete ball ache. If you get seen in this, it's no problem. You just fight, and the fighting is the same sort of stuff as Batman, so you're sort of familiar with that sort of stuff. The traversal around the stuff, it feels like Assassin's Creed, where you're holding down the X button and you're running up to things.
Is there a lot of traversing then?
Oh, a hell of a lot, yeah. Yeah, you're running around a lot. And climbing things. You climb things like you do in Assassin's Creed. However, there's a button that if you're at the bottom of a tower, you press X and it just takes huge jumps up the tower. If you fall off, you don't die. You just land and then you get back up again. So it feels like a lot of the punishment is gone. You can get killed in this game, but they make that very difficult, because when you're in huge battles with loads of enemies, if you run out of life, you have a QTE to try and stay alive, and it delivers a powerful attack against whatever you're fighting. So it's clearly a game that says, okay, it's a Lord of the Rings game. Let's put all the characters people love. Let's put like places that they know from the films and the books. I assume, I don't really know. But, it feels like that's all in there. But in terms of gameplay, let's just focus on the good stuff and forget punishing a player. Don't make it too challenging. Don't make it, don't make them have to do the boring stuff. Like, I mean, you're in a town or whatever, but it is absolutely rammed with enemies. And I mean an insane amount of enemies. I don't think I've played an open world game where there's been this many enemy per square meter. It's insane. Which has its problems as well. Like, so it has the Nemesis system. And if you haven't played that, or you don't know what that is, you've probably heard a lot about it. But what it is that certain enemies are more powerful than others. These enemies have weaknesses and strengths, and they're littered throughout like, when I'd heard about it from the first game, I just assumed it was 1 or 2 per sort of area. It's not, there's fucking tons of them. In order to work out what their strengths and weaknesses are, you have to interrogate these little certain types of ogre. However, they're just in areas that are absolutely rammed. So initially it makes it feel like you have to sneak up on them and hold down the circle button and interrogate them. But that's not really the case. You just rush in and just make sure you interrogate that one. It just puts as much shit in the world as possible. Which means that you're not really, like, if you're trying to get from A to B, you could do it by jumping across rooftops, but you can also do it by just having like a massive fucking brawl all the way there. Like, at times it feels like Dynasty Warriors, there's that many enemies in there. The only problem is that the very nature of this Batman style combat is that you're hammering one button a lot, and it does a lot to try and mix that up. You do get the counter button that you have to press every now and then, the jump button, and stuff like that. But it for the majority of the time, you're just hammering the square button, and that does get a little bit, sort of, you feel less invested in it. Like, I wish there was more combos and stuff, and maybe that comes the more I unlock stuff. I'm certainly unlocking things that are making things a little bit more interesting, so that's pretty good. But yeah, I'm impressed. I'm still playing it, and I'm gonna still play it. I'll just be skipping the cutscenes and getting straight to the gameplay.
Yeah, I was meant to play this week, but other things, Stardew stopped me playing that. But I'm definitely interested in playing. So I didn't play the first one. I like the Lord of the Rings books and the films, so obviously this didn't get like incredible reviews, so I wasn't like busting to play it. But
I think the main complaint that I've read is that there's just way too many mechanics in it, and I totally agree with that. I think they have thrown too much at it. But I'm finding a lot of stuff easy to ignore. It's not like I'm in a battle and I'm thinking, oh yeah, I forgot that mechanic which lets me do this. I just continue playing how I'm playing, and then every now and then I'm learning some new stuff, and sometimes I implement it, but a lot of the times I don't. And it does get a little bit confusing in the menus, because you're collecting loot, and then you're active, like you're what do you call it? You're activating. What they fucking call it? You're selecting which weapon you want, but you're also upgrading your character with skill trees and stuff like that. Right. There's a lot to take in, especially at the start, and a lot to remember when it comes to attacking beasts. There's huge beasts everywhere, and some of them you can attack and jump on their backs and use to your advantage. Some of them you can like literally take over the catapult that's attached to them and stuff like that. You can there's a bit of Far Cry in there where there's like hanging meat everywhere, and you can fire an arrow and it drops down on enemies, and then all of a sudden these huge beasts turn up and try and attack them. And so there's a lot that you have to constantly think of, and I can see why some people will find that frustrating. It's not got on my nerves too much yet. It's a little bit frustrating with constant notifications of, hey, remember you can use this by holding square. That sort of stuff gets on my nerves a bit, but I'm pretty sure you could switch that off, and if you can, then I'll be doing that next time I log on, because I just want to be left alone for a bit.
What deck are you playing this on?
Just the default one.
Oh, cool, yeah.
I'm enjoying it.
Okay, good.
It feels like I'm missing out on a lot of what the game's about, but I'm enjoying it as an open world game, which is saying quite a bit, I think.
Yeah. But it isn't one of those games where it's just a million things on the map, like a million...
No.
Okay.
No, it's very selective. There is millions of things, but when you look at the map, it's not completely rammed with icons. You could basically pick and choose what you're going to focus on. You will come across a lot within the world. There'll be, items to collect and bits to do and things to stumble into. But I didn't really feel that when I was looking at the map, I was massively intimidated because everything's sort of segregated. So it's like, these are your story missions. These are your missions to do this. These are your missions to do that. And you basically select, okay, I want to do a story mission, and that'll just show up as a huge objective on your map, and then you're away, So it doesn't feel like a Ubisoft game.
Is there multiplayer in this?
I don't know. I've no idea if there's a multiplayer in this. I've not seen any options for it, but I could be wrong. Huh.
Yeah,
I'd be surprised if there was. There wasn't in the first, was there?
I have no idea. No idea.
You know what's mad though? With this Nemesis stuff, I did not expect it to be this frequent. Like I thought it was bosses essentially. But I was in a fight the other day where I was fighting a Nemesis, and another one showed up in that one fight, and then a third one showed up in that fight. So I was fighting three of them at once. And they all had their own little intro and weaknesses and all that sort of stuff.
Don't they have their own professions now?
Sorry?
Don't they have their own professions, doesn't it? Or a little
sort
fact
of
about them.
Yeah, it does. And
that sounds really weird.
Some of them are quirky. There's I assume you're referring to the dude with the lute that I'm talking about, the instrument, the lute, that he plays and sings while he's attacking you and stuff like that. It was pretty funny. I quite liked it. So, I haven't played
the first one, I haven't played this one yet, but, the stuff I have seen where the characters are also, Cockney geezers with, funny little lines, that stuff just feels really wrong to me, but does it work in the context of the game?
It does for me. Whether it does for a Lord of the Rings fan, I don't know. There is serious stuff in this. It's not fully wacky all the way through. It feels like the wackiness is saved for the ogres, and the serious stuff is saved for everything else. So I don't know how a Lord of the Rings fan would react to that. But for me, I've got no issue with it. I just, as I say, I'm mainly skipping the cutscenes now. So I've got no interest in listening to the story now that I'm not giving it a full review. So I'm just focusing on what it's like to play, and I think it does a good job. I think it's fun. Whether I would recommend it to someone that hasn't, that's not into Lord of the Rings though, I don't know. Probably not, because it does feel like you're missing out on quite a bit.
Yeah, I bet. Yeah. Well, hopefully next week I'll have something to say about it as well.
Yeah, I'd be interested to hear what you think, being a massive Lord of the Rings fan yourself.
Oh, I love those hobbits.
James, you like Lord of the Rings, don't you?
I do, and I'm kind of disappointed that you... Have you said the word orc while you've been talking about this? Cause
yeah,
this
I think so, yeah. Once.
Well, I think I have. I said orc.
I mean, you said last week, James, and you're like Ocarina of Time, but...
Yeah, that's true.
Did you? I said orc or ogre? I think I might have said ogre.
You said ogres quite a bit. But
that's Shrek, isn't it? Shrek. Maybe I'm getting Shrek and Lord of the Rings mixed up.
Maybe.
Or maybe Shrek 2. Go on. What you been playing, James?
I've been playing two things mostly. I've been playing Beyond Two Souls last week. Which,
how are you getting on?
It's not very good, is it? Is the problem?
I told you.
You see, and the problem with the game is that I still find it kind of baffling and quite boring. Is the problem? I mean, you saw the highlights presumably, and
I did. The latest video is now up on our YouTube page. Episode 2 of James Plays Beyond Two Souls.
I mean, there was the bit when I was in the high-speed chase and I forgot that I was playing it. And
it was quite funny because you're watching this big motorbike chase, and then the motorbike just stops and the helicopter sort of just buzzes overhead to say, what the fuck is going on here? and then you realise that you're actually supposed to be playing the game.
Yeah,
we've all been there.
I mean, because the problem is that because the storytelling is really fragmented, and I don't think it really works because there's no. So far, maybe it's just because I'm streaming it and I'm not really concentrating because there is that aspect to it always. But there doesn't seem to be a lot that's kind of like links everything together, providing context. And that's
right. Okay, it's partly a problem with it being a game, and games have a certain expectancy for how long you should be playing them. But it's also partly for the fact that you have no patience at all. Every time I've seen you talk about this game or when you were playing Heavy Rain, it was like, why is he doing that? Well, James, keep playing. You might find out, mate. Well, what does this mean? Well, just keep playing and you'll explain. They're not going to just not tell you.
I know, but the thing is, like, if you think about, like, okay, think about Memento. You remember the film?
I remember the film.
Have you seen that?
So many times it's not even funny.
Okay, so in that, the timeline also goes all over the place. But the thing is, there are common points. Like, there's the notes and the tattoos and stuff that keep the story focused. With this, I'm not seeing so many sort of common points that keep things really grounded. It's just boring. And the dialogue is really dull.
There are common points, It just, because of the length of the game, you will not have started picking up on them yet. That's what I'll say. To be fair, it was one of the things that I didn't have a problem with. The fact that everything was non-linear, I didn't have a problem with it because it did slowly start peeling away the questions you have about what's going on. Mm-hmm. I think that was one aspect of the game that did work. But there wasn't much else.
I'm just finding it a bit boring. I mean, Heavy Rain was really, really good compared with this, I think. Like, by comparison.
Heavy Rain was it was a decent game.
Yeah.
I much preferred it to this. Absolutely.
It's certainly got more memorable characters. Because that's the other thing I'm finding with this. I'm not finding anybody apart from Norman Osborn, like that memorable, to be honest.
Yeah, there was only one character that I liked in this game, but I'll hold off telling you who that is till a little bit later. I want to see if you start liking the person. I noticed,
James, you're up to your old tricks of failing scenes.
Oh my god, I have never seen anyone as bad. Like, this is insane, Jay. You are awful.
Yeah, you were just shrugging in that. And
yeah, the shrugging was funny.
The shrugging was funny, but also like, it's getting to the point, I failed that again, have I? I failed that. Have I missed massive scenes I don't know how the story's going because I failed everything again.
Yeah, but but the thing is, though, is that they should be taking that into consideration.
No, you can't tell that. I'm going to play like a cunt, and they should assume that I'm playing
exactly.
like one.
They should be, catering for people like me that are playing it.
No one wants to cater for someone like you. Fucking nightmare. Matt's got a point. You are terrible at this game. Like, really,
I just
bad.
don't care enough is the part of the problem.
No, it's not that. It's fucking you can't do QTEs. You're getting too old for that.
QTEs. I do hate QTEs. Especially in this. It's just like, you see, this is the thing that I was most upset about with this game, is that I thought that it wouldn't have all that stuff like Heavy Rain, but it's exactly the same.
Why did you think that?
I don't know, because I thought you would have learned that the stuff in Heavy Rain was bad. Why do it again? It didn't work the first time round, and this time it's just
it didn't
horrendous.
work for you the first time round. Everyone else said it was fine.
It was not that good.
The only thing I didn't like about the Heavy Rain stuff was the walking, the tank controls.
Mm.
And that's gone in this. I did the QTs. I had zero problems with.
No,
I failed a few.
That door was insane, and it was really difficult to do that.
I'm pretty sure I did that first time.
Yeah, but you didn't have 40 people watching you at the same time.
Oh, James, come on! Don't put it down to pressure, mate.
It was getting really pressured and horrible.
How many times did you fall down that fucking climbing wall? It was insane.
I know, but that's just because I messed up with the controls with that time. But yeah.
Okay, so that's beyond. Go on, next.
So the other game I played is Echo, and
before we do that, are you not going to mention your news?
Which one?
Well, because you've been playing.
What other games you've been playing?
I played a bit of FIFA for a bit.
On the PS4 that you traded your Switch version in for. Well, so I guess you're happy now, are you?
I'm not, because I've already traded it again.
James has traded in... Did you read that story the other week, Matt, about how someone was put away because they were ripping Amazon off by keep sending things back that they said was broken. That's going to be James next.
I never said it was broken. I'm within my consumer rights to do this.
So James, so the order of things is on Amazon. You bought FIFA 18 on Switch, and you sent it back to them and said, "What? I don't want it." Or how does that?
Yeah, just because you can do that within a certain period of time.
Okay.
So you don't want
it. You sent it back, and then you bought FIFA 18 on PS4 from Amazon as well. Yeah. Yeah. And then you sent that back, and what was your reason for sending that back?
I didn't want it.
Okay.
so then you bought back the copy that you said that you didn't want in the first place.
Yeah, I bought another one.
Well, explain yourself.
They're going to get suspicious. They're going to get suspicious.
They're not. It's fine. As I said, you're within your consumer rights to do that.
Were you one of these guys that bought a CD from HMV, copied everything onto your iPod, and then gave it back?
No, I've never done that.
Absolutely guarantee he was.
No,
the rich ones are always the nastiest ones, aren't they? With shit like that.
Explain yourself, then, James. What's had the sudden and second change of mind in a week?
Well, there's a couple of reasons. You see, this is the trouble.
There are
right?
reasons.
Because I had to get my wife to go and post this today.
This is the other thing. James has been incredibly generous and is lending me a couple of DS games so that Harry can play them, right? And he said, Chen will send it out. Are you one of these... This is another thing. Are you one of these people that find going to the post office like this huge, daunting thing to do?
Because I live in a village, there is no post office here. And it's miles away to get to.
So you send your wife?
Yeah, because I've got to go to work and she's not going every day. So she can do that. It's fine, she was going there anyway. So
don't you work in a university? There's nowhere to send post in that university.
Yeah, but it's complicated.
Dave, she was going anyway to send back the other 50 things from Amazon he's taken back.
Yeah.
So you might as well post your thing.
Go on.
So anyway, I gave her the thing today, and I was like, "Look, can you post this?" And she's like, "What's this?" And I was like, "It's FIFA." And then she's like, "Why are you doing this again?" And then she just said that she didn't understand how my brain worked. And
no one does.
I know. It's a fair point. I've flip-flopped on this again, and it's...
why? Tell us why.
Okay, so there's the reasons. One reason is because I want to play it, portably again, reliably, which is nice. That's one reason. The second reason...
I mean, last week you were saying how fine it was playing on your Vita, but go on.
Yeah, but it's not really, is it? I was just lying about that. The second...
It's flat out admitted it. Go on.
The second reason is because I've been playing the Journey and it's not much cop, and I'm not that bothered about playing that. So mate,
you don't like the Hunter.
I'm not bothered about Alex Hunter, to be honest. It's all. Do you know what disappointed me the most about that is the way that you don't have really much choice over certain key things in it. And I know that's because they're trying to deliver a certain narrative, and also part of it, I'm going to spoil it because I don't care, is you end up having to go and play in in MLS, right? And it really just feels like they've just done that on purpose, because they're trying to get more Americans to play it or something.
James is such a Rage Against the Machine guy. Yeah. I love it. So they're just doing this to fuck. Oh fuck!
They are. It didn't feel right, and I didn't want to go. It said you got to leave your club and put in a transfer. I'm I don't want to do that. I'm quite happy here. But it forces you to, which was annoying. So
it's like real football then, isn't it?
Yeah.
So sometimes players get sold.
Yeah, but no, this was... look, forget it. I don't want to get into this because it's ridiculous. It's a stupid story mode and it's not that good. So there's that. And then also, I'm probably going to get a Pro Controller soon. And so I thought that solves the control issue. So I just thought, why not? I'm going to get that.
I mean, that's beautiful. You've traded in a game that last week you were saying... I mean, this is just insane. No wonder your wife doesn't understand you, because I fucking don't. It's unreal.
I don't understand me either sometimes.
So your FIFA on the Switch has now cost you, right, not only sending time to send back or whatever, but also the game plus a Pro Controller.
What
Yeah.
about the graphics, James?
Oh, I don't care. It's fine.
Okay. We've got that on record. James say you don't care. So no, James, before you say anything. So just on the list of things James doesn't care about online multiplayer, doesn't care about the journey, now doesn't care about the graphics. What do you care about in this game?
The career mode. That's all I care about. And it's got that. It's fine.
It had that before.
I know. So I'm going back to it.
I mean, you've got to hold your hands up and say you're fucking weird now, right?
Yeah, I know. Honestly, I don't know what is going on in my brain sometimes with this stuff. And it's funny because what happened was it's one of those things where I was sitting there trying to play it on Vita and I was just like, this isn't that good, actually.
Yeah, because I can't do lobs, I can't do finesse shots. What else can you do?
Well, you can't do finesse shots, which is the problem. But then I was just thinking, I could play this on Switch again, you know? It wouldn't be that much hassle to send this back. I can send Chen. But it's...
Send Chen back to the post office.
And then I kind of got obsessed with this.
Remote play on your Mac?
No, I very rarely do that.
Why not?
It's hassle in it. You've got to get like a controller lead and all that and plug it all in. It's a nuisance.
I tell it's less of a nuisance, like buying and sending games back to Amazon. Well, it's less of a nuisance for you.
True.
I mean, Chen's doing a nutting, but for you, not really a nuisance.
No, it's not really. It's fine. It's okay.
Oh, getting this controller's a nuisance. Let's go to the post office again, Chen. Come on. Back to the post office, Chen.
It was fine. We used to have a post office in the village, but then it got shut down. It's very annoying.
I'm pretty sure you can send post at your university.
I'm certain you can. It's just I don't know how yet. And
No, because that would mean he'd have to do it, and he can't be like, me true. Again.
That's unbelievable. In my household, it's the complete opposite. Like, if I'm going to work and we need to post something, I'm the one that posts it because I can send stuff through work or I can go to the post office. It's not, but you're at home, Joe. You take it. Like, and here's that game that I swapped.
Twice.
Last couple of weeks.
Look, we all know that I'm a terrible human being. Can we just move on to the next game?
We can. Okay. Just as long as we confirm that. Yep.
Yeah, it's true. I'm totally fine with that. I know this is mad. It doesn't make any sense, but you know, I'm looking forward to it. It's going to turn up tomorrow, so I'm pretty pleased about that.
Well, that's the game or the Pro Controller?
Yeah, the game. No, the game. The Pro Controller's not coming for a while yet. I've got to wait for that. But no, see, that's the other good thing about this. If you send it back with Amazon, you can get it sent back and refunded as a gift card. And then as soon as they scan it at the post office, you get the money back. So then you can just order next day. It's pretty handy.
Right, okay, fine. Next.
Anyway, so...
Say the fucking Amazon advert, go on.
It's pretty good. Anyway, so the other game I've been playing is Echo. And this...
Speaking of Amazon...
Well, no, you've... That's very good, David.
Thanks, man.
That's a Matt joke, that was.
It was a bit, yeah, go on.
Yeah, mine a bit more subtle than
that. Mine get acknowledged, though, Matt.
So did mine from the listeners.
Yeah, but who gives a shit about those guys? Go on.
So, what this game, it kind of came out of nowhere, and I didn't really know anything about it at all, but it's made by XIO Interactive stuff, you know, that did Hitman and everything. And it's a new studio called Ultra. And they're... Ooh. Yeah, it's...
Not the greatest name for a studio, that. No. Go on.
But anyway, so what it is it's a third-person, like, sort of adventure game, kind of, where it's sort of set in sort of sci-fi sort of environment, and you land on a planet, and you've got a ship which has got like a, like AI, which is like telling you what to do. But the relationship between you and the AI is really sort of confused and not, it kind of sort of drip feeds parts of the story about why you're on this planet to you. So it's like there's a lot of things which feel in the beginning like information you should know, but obviously you don't because you're not really that character yet. But then it all starts to make sense as you're sort of the more you play. But what it is you land on this planet and the whole planet is covered in structures, like it's all just covered in buildings. And the reason for why all these buildings here is not entirely clear, but your goal is to explore the depths of these buildings, and they're described as being like palaces. When you get inside, they really do look like palaces. It's like a sort of, I don't know, 18th century France kind of like design of like all these like sort of palaces, which is quite interesting. But then what happens is after a bit of exploration, so you're sort of wandering around these places and not entirely sure why you're sort of exploring them, you know, why you need to go into the depths. But then after a while, the main hook of the game sort of becomes apparent because you're inside this palace, and then every few minutes the lights go out and it becomes dark. Then the controller vibrates and then it just goes completely pitch black. And it's weird because it goes pitch black to the point where you think that, like, the game's crashed or something. You know, it's like there's nothing at all, like there's no input or anything. Then the lights come back on again. So, first of all, this feels just a bit strange, but then the more you walk around, it happens again, and it keeps on happening. And then after a while, I noticed that there's these sort of pools of black fluid, like, appear on the floor. And then the next time the lights go out, then the pools of fluid begin to sort of take form. And then after a few more times, they become more sort of human in shape. And then it becomes apparent that if you get close to these, it results in your death as they kind of swarm you and murder you, which is kind of horrible. Now, the main hook, though, with this is that when the lights are on, it becomes apparent that the palace is observing what you're doing. So the actions that you take, such as like shooting, movement, or interacting with objects and stuff, when the lights go out, this observation ends, and then when the lights come back on again, the enemies that you've sort of seen have the skills that you've exhibited in the previous cycle. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense, yeah.
Yeah. So then what happens is then these skills are, after this cycle, so when it goes dark again, the ones from that cycle are erased, and then you get the next one again, which is the ones that you've just done. So basically what I learnt pretty quickly is it's not a good idea to run or fire my weapon too much, because when that happens, then in the next cycle the enemies are really tough because they can run and they can also sort of fire weapons. But it's also things like if you walk through water during a cycle, then they can do that as well, whereas if you don't touch the water, they won't. So it gets to this stage where you're planning ahead and you're thinking, you know, what should I do here to make this easier for myself, but also so that I can sort of get through, the area. Because what it is each area is basically a maze swarming with these enemies, and you have to figure out how to navigate this and sort of avoid them or defeat the enemies so that you can try and get closer to the centre. It seems to be the way it works. And the palace just uses, the skills that it's learning against you. And it is really engaging because you have to just constantly think about what you're doing and sort of what how this is going to affect the next cycle, which is only like, a couple of minutes or whatever long. And yeah, it's really interesting.
So
how quickly did it become apparent?
Say again?
How quickly did it become apparent?
Did what become apparent?
This was the hook of the game.
Well, after, you see, this is what's strange because when I first started, I think probably it was at least about an hour or so in before this starts to happen. And so in the beginning, you're just sort of wandering around, sort of exploring, but you don't really see the reason for this, really, apart from the dialogue that's going on between you and the AI as to sort of why you're there. And, but then after that happens, it becomes much clearer that this is what you're...
apparent that it started, that the idea was that it was in a cycle.
Yeah.
So did they forget? Did they forget?
Yes.
Does it become apparent that they keep forgetting from the previous cycle?
Yes. Yeah, I mean, that's kind of explained because what happens is through the dialogue between your character and the AI, they kind of figure that out.
Right.
It's because it becomes sort of obvious that's the way it's working.
Yeah, okay. Matt, sorry, I cut into you.
No, so I was going to say, I mean, so do these enemies cover the exact same bits of ground that you cover, or is it just that they're using the same skills that you've done? So if you run in a straight line, do they run that same straight line, or they're just using a run ability to get to you?
It's just the abilities, not your actual actions. And also what happens is that every cycle they return to where they were before. So they sort of go back, so what's really horrible is when you get like attacked by them, and there's been a couple of times where they've nearly just like about to kill me, and then it like the controller starts vibrating, and then it's like the cycle's over and they've returned back to where they were, and you're like, oh, I can't believe I survived that. And then sometimes you can end up where you'll end up in a place where they are, where they spawn at the same place. And you have to I've got to get away from here really quickly before they sort of wake up.
So what's the goal in each of these palaces or temples or whatever?
Well, the goal is to get deeper in. It seems. I mean, I think I'm about 2/3 of the way through the game, and it doesn't really explain. Well, it kind of does, but I don't want to spoil the story because it is part of the sort of the motivation for why you're doing it. But basically, you're just going deeper and deeper into this place.
What happens if you just stand still?
then you won't progress. It's
Well, can't you progress when it's pitch black?
You can, yeah. I mean, you see, the thing is, I'm not entirely sure about how long each of these cycles last, because they don't seem to be like timed as such. I think that they're actually based on like how many actions you do before it then resets. Because
that will probably become apparent the more you play, though, right?
Yeah, I should think so. Yeah, because it seems that it is that way. Because otherwise, yeah, you could just stand still, then wait for it to move, and then just wait, and then just then they'll all be standing still as well and won't do anything. It's I mean, there's also like the thing is, it's quite, the horror element to this is quite big as well, actually. I mean, there's another point that I've not told you about, which I don't want to, because I don't want to spoil it, which is just horrible, actually. And it scared me a bit more than most games normally do. I mean, you know, like when we played stuff like Resident Evil and stuff like that, that doesn't bother me at all, but this did upset me a bit. Like, it is a bit scary. It's, yeah.
Cool. Matt?
Well, I was going to say, is this more of is this more of a puzzle game than an action game? Because it's becoming apparent that it's sort of many different types of game in one game.
Yes. It's definitely... You're right, David.
Yeah, I'm fine. Sorry, come on.
I thought you were laughing at me, but, yeah.
No.
Okay. No, it's definitely, I mean, it's first and foremost is like a puzzle game, really. I mean, seeing as this has come from the same people as Hitman, you can see the same kind of thing where it's like, you know, you're basically trying to, with Hitman, you're kind of trying to figure out a puzzle, aren't you? Like, as in how to do it and how to get out or whatever.
Yeah.
This is kind of similar in that respect. And you can't go into this really like all guns blazing, because if you do, I don't think you'd stand a chance, because there's so many like enemies there, if they've all got guns and they're all shooting, you're finished. It's not going to work. So you kind of have to take a different approach to it, really. I mean, it's also, I think it's a budget kind of release as well, because it's not, I think it's quite cheap. It's not very expensive. But also, I mean, the negative side of it is that although visually it looks okay, there's not much diversity. I mean, all of the palaces that you go through, they look identical pretty much. And also it's got this music, which is also really repetitive, but fortunately I kind of like it. And as I said, I'm 2/3 of the way through, but it hasn't really changed much. It's really just one puzzle after another. But it's interesting enough that it's definitely sort of kept me like gripped, especially because as the story starts to unfold, it becomes more interesting. It's it's definitely worth a look.
Yeah, it sounds really good, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Right. That's it. Well, that's what we've been playing this week. Okay, should we get onto emails and then cut this thing off?
Yeah. If you want to email us...
God, with 2 hours, 10 minutes. What happened again?
I know. If you want to email us, it's thecomputergameshow@gmail.com. The first one is from Remalaptar. Thank you, Matt, for spelling that out for me.
That was actually Andy Remalaptar himself who said, for James, this is how you say it.
Nice, that's good, thank you. So he says, I'm currently playing through the excellent... Is it Nier? I'm never sure.
It's
Neo, okay, because this is why Sean was here, because he's better at pronouncing these. Anyway. And last night, after many, many hours played, I realised that I didn't have the first idea of what is going on in the story. It's not that the story is particularly obtuse, Dark Souls style. It actually has quite a lot of cutscenes. I've just never paid any attention to any of them. I just zoom through the cutscenes, click on missions, and go about killing, happily, mindlessly, without reason. Which brings me to the question: which game have you enjoyed the most without having any investment in the story? I don't just mean the story was a bit rubbish and throwaway. I mean, you literally couldn't even describe the basics. So, Matt, Dave, you've got this down already. It's
sort of Shadow of War, but that's not the game that I've enjoyed the most without knowing anything about the story. Really, it's probably Halo. I didn't follow the story in that at all.
Yeah, but in the first few games it was fine, but then when you got to like Halo 4,
once I landed on the Halo, that was it.
Oh, really?
I knew the Halo was a weapon.
I love the
that
story
was it.
in the Halo series, at least in the early days.
I'm not slagging the game off. If the story's good, the story's good. I didn't follow it at all.
Well, did you not even try to, or do you skip cutscenes?
Did not try to. I watched the cutscenes.
I hate when people do that. At least give it a go.
Yeah,
I never understood people skip cutscenes. At least give it a go.
I didn't skip. I watched the cutscenes.
Okay, you watched them. Okay.
I just didn't know what they were talking about, and then just carried on shooting mans. It was good. It's a good game. Really enjoyed it. Just didn't follow the story at all. Matt, you got one?
I mean, I guess the Metal Gear games are crazy in terms of story. It's hard to keep up with them most of the time, especially, I mean, Metal Gear 4 was just insane. But I always try to, keep to play along with the story to try and understand what's happening. Obviously, there are times where it's hard, but I've never understood people who just like skip cutscenes and just go from game section to game section, because I feel like you're missing out on everything. References, how the game's progressing, why it's progression.
Matt, you listen to podcasts while you play games, mate.
Yeah, but that's fine.
I mean, it's not though, is it? Because isn't the music a big part of the tension and the narrative?
It's only that one game I did it. What was that? The Phoenix Wright game?
Yeah, one of the best games. Oh, don't start that again.
Because I got that noise out of him.
I know, because it's going to annoy me. Please, can we just move on? I'm going to get annoyed.
James, have you got one?
Well, because the only one I can think of is a game that you're just. It hasn't really got much of a story anyway, which is Left 4 Dead. You know, those games. I never bothered with any like the cutscenes, because there's like a cutscene at the beginning and stuff. Didn't care.
Well, the stories were that they were movies. That was it.
Yeah, and that's it. So yeah, I wasn't really that invested.
Yeah, no,
but usually I
answer.
try to get into them, but I don't know.
Okay, all right. Go on. Next, that's a weak answer. Go on.
Yep. James Hill says, you fellas all have jobs and kids, but often talk of gaming past midnight. I'm intrigued as to how much sleep you're getting each night. What time are you getting up in the morning? I have to get up at 6 a.m. every day, so gaming past 11 kills me. That's from James in Mississippi.
Oh, God. Yeah, I mean, this is a big thing for me at the moment. I am clearly not getting enough sleep. I probably get to sleep at about 12:30 most nights and wake up about
insane.
6.
I can't do that anymore.
I'm feeling the strain now. I really am. It gets to Friday, it sort of builds up because I get to Friday and I am fucked.
See, I only do it like gaming past late. I do it on Friday night and maybe Saturday night, I think. But the other nights I don't bother anymore because I just can't. It's because we get up at like 5:30, 6 every day as well because of the children.
Yeah.
I just can't do it. It's
a stupid thing to do, but I'm in that cycle now. And even to the point where I was thinking last night, I'll have an early night, but because I'm so used to this sleep pattern now, I was up again till 12:30 or whatever. It's stupid.
This is one of the things that me and my wife argue about the most, is my lack of sleep. Because I can happily, I mean, so my daughter doesn't get up at 5:30 or 6, she'll go up at like 7 or whatever. Yeah.
Can't believe that.
7 or later.
Not fair.
Yeah, but then she goes to bed later though, right?
Well, we start the process at 7. It's 7:30 tonight, but sometimes that can be later. Yeah, depends.
Well, that's not too bad.
Anyway, but
yeah, see, Harry's just asleep at 7. That's it. Boom, gone.
Yeah,
and that's probably the problem.
No, mine don't go to sleep for ages and then get up really early. It's just the worst.
Do you know
of
what's
both
really
worlds.
weird on a parenting note is that Joe's half brothers, they're now 14 and 16 or whatever. And the last time I went round there, obviously what usually happens, we stay over there and they go to bed, about 9ish, 10ish, and then we have a couple of hours to just chat, and have a couple of beers and catch up and that and talk about stuff that we don't really want to talk about in front of the kids. And now that doesn't happen because they're that little bit older now and they just stay up and they're usually still wide awake when we're all going to bed. And it's like, oh, for fuck's sake, I don't know how I'm going to be able to deal with that. When Harry's able to stay up past 10 o'clock and I just want to get everyone off to bed so I can play my computer games. Like, what happens
just
then?
Go to your room. Surely.
What, to a 16-year-old at 10 o'clock? You can't do that.
Well, no, I guess when he's 16, maybe not. Anyway, I can happily, yeah, this is the thing I argue about the most. Like, basically, she's always going on about me. I've got to go to bed earlier, 10 o'clock, 10:30. I can't stay up till late. I mean, I can happily stay up to like 1:30, like sometimes 2 o'clock on a work night. But
what time do you wake up in the morning?
6:30.
So you can 5 hours.
Oh yeah,
sleep a night.
Definitely, yeah, easy. But that's
mad.
But Jill goes mad. So trying for me to go to bed earlier, but it's just hard because after you work all day and then you come home and sort like the kids and stuff, and then you're washing up, and it's like 9 o'clock at night. I don't want to go to bed at 10 because I feel like I'm literally like the week is just work, child, bed. Like that's why I stay up late, just to have some semblance of an evening.
No, that's why life sucks.
Jesus Christ! Okay.
It's got dark. But yeah, I guess, I can easily stay up super late, but it's probably not good for me.
Okay.
James?
Next.
Capone Adams says...
James.
What?
Have you answered that?
Yeah, I did.
Alright, cool. Next.
Capone Adams says, loving the Beyond Two Souls stream, I especially like that Farley doesn't show his face, as it helps me imagine that I'm listening to Alan Partridge playing a game. Question: if you had the ability to force any well-known person outside of gaming circles to stream themselves playing a game, who would it be and what game would they be playing?
God, well, it would be my dad, without a doubt, without a shadow of a doubt. And it would probably be Heavy Rain. I'd like to see how he reacts to it. Yeah, probably that. Or something just, what's a really, ultra wacky game? Real sort of, what the fuck is going on here?
You game. Yeah.
What?
What
was that?
That Connect game by Swery, it's called, is that D3, or is that what it's called? James, do you know about it? Does that ring a bell?
I don't know what you're talking about.
Okay.
The Witcher. My dad playing The Witcher would be interesting. Or a Mass Effect game. Anything with sex in it. Because he just will not understand why there's ever any sex in a computer game. He will not get that. Yeah, I go with that. Matt?
It's so hard. I was going to say my original suggestion was like a politician. But I don't know, maybe Jamie Corbyn playing Civilization. I don't even know where that was even going. I just wanted to know because
no, that was rubbish.
Because the idea of them just maybe understanding very little about it, or just trying to discuss or talk about the game, I thought would be interesting.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's what I was thinking, Theresa May playing Hotline Miami or something like that,
Now that's better. That's a better answer. Theresa May playing Hotline Miami.
Been confused by it, and probably disgusted,
Yeah, good shout. Good shout. Next.
His second question is, do you think David Cage's next game, Detroit, will be as weird and awkward as Heavy Rain and Beyond? He says, I'm worried that Sony will have forced him to bring in more writers. From what I'm seeing in the trailers, it almost seems like a normal game. That said, I did go back and watch the trailers for the previous two games, and when it's all out of context and has fast cuts, the awkwardness is well hidden. I suppose my question is this: do you think there is any chance of Detroit being as awkward as ever David Cage game? And more importantly, will we be disappointed if it wasn't? I think absolutely it's going to be an awkward game. It's
really.
Yes,
do you not
definitely.
think? Do you not think that they've got someone on board?
No, because from the jump between Heavy Rain and Beyond Two Souls, it's pretty clear that he learned nothing from that. And I don't think he would have learned anything from this either.
I'm not saying he would have learned anything from that. It's whether Sony would have let him have free reign like they did with those two games.
Well, they'd sold well, didn't they? So they probably don't care.
Did the second one sell? Did Beyond sell well?
I don't know.
That's what I'm saying. I'm not...
Yeah, it sold 25 million copies, did it? I don't know. I mean, my first answer to that was, because I think the technology's caught up now, and the technology can do really amazing things. I mean, Heavy Rain at a time looked great. So it's not even a technology thing. I mean, I think Adam's right. It does look more of a serious game, and trailers look great, and I'm really excited. But now I was excited for Heavy Rain. I think it'll definitely have awkwardness, and I can't wait. It'll be annoying and weird if it's suddenly a really serious game and it was perfectly pitched and acted, and they're like, "Oh, hang on, we need an element of David Cageness about it."
Matt, hang on, Heavy Rain and Beyond Two Souls are also supposed to be serious games. They're not supposed to be comedies.
Yeah. Well, this will be an awkward game, no doubt, and I can't wait.
Okay. The next one is from Kieran Winter, and he says, anyway, with the ESRB claiming loot boxes aren't a form of gambling, what are your opinions of it? So we've already done this. Matt, why is this in
Why
here?
did you read it out?
I don't know, because Matt always gets annoyed if I don't read the questions.
Don't
and it's
blame me.
Well, no, because why did you put this in when you knew we were going to be talking about it earlier?
Arguing. I want to go to bed next.
All right, okay, well, let's skip that one. This one's ridiculous. It's look, what's this, Matt? Like, this wasn't here earlier.
Yeah, it was when I said all the emails are in the doc. It's up to you to then pick and choose.
But this one's massive. It's like, look, should I read it or not?
Read it.
Oh, my God. Okay, this is from DeGoose from the TCGS
I'm
Discord
sorry,
channel.
DeGoose.
Why? This is really long. This is like a page. This is... Okay. I felt I should join in on the FIFA talk and some of Farley's thoughts on it. So from my point of view, this is the best portable FIFA game that has come out. The game looks nice and sharp, with good detail, and the engine they use, which was a new one modified for Switch, works really well, keeping the game at a constant 60 frames per second. For the controls, yes, it can be a bit cramped in portable mode, but it's not terrible. You just have to get used to it a little, but as much better than anything before it on a portable system. I didn't try the full screen mode and a Pro controller, so can't comment on how that looks and feels, but reviews have been positive. There is also no sluggishness in the shooting. No idea what Farley is on about there. And Farley is a madman for them playing it on the Vita remote play, which can be laggy, and then also cutting out some major buttons which you need, as was highlighted. I mean, close control makes a massive difference to movement and skills, and so does finesse shots. Okay, I agree with all this, that's why I bought it again. As for the game... Ignore
modes... what I said last time. Ignore all that.
Ignore all that, it's fine. And also, I do take issue, though, with the whole thing about Vita remote play being laggy, because if you got it set up, it's not... If you've got it set up right, it's not that bad, and it's actually fine. As for the game modes, the single player is only missing a few things, with the main area being the journey, which I never played in FIFA 17, and the actual main online modes also nearly has everything except for 11 vs 11 and FIFA Ultimate Team Weekend Leagues, which is a mode for the real hardcore who would get it on the PS4 or Xbox anyway. Yeah, but you also... thing is with this is you still can't play it like against your friends, though, online. It's not possible, so that's nonsense. I was on my holes last week and played quite a few hours of FIFA Switch, and I was very happy I picked it up. As a dad, it was damn handy playing a bit, pausing the game and putting it into standby mode, and then going back for more when I had the chance. For me, this has replaced the full version on PS4 because of the quick accessibility and pick up and play, which I need, and the main mode I played was FIFA Ultimate Team, which so far has worked well and played just like on the PS4. I can get why some might want best graphics, but portable full version FIFA with the main online mode sold me on it. Now hopefully a full PES for next year. Cheers and keep up the good work, guys.
Cool, so that was just opinions.
I know, but I don't know why Matt put that in there, but, you know, it's true.
No, it's interesting to hear.
Yeah, sure.
I think we've got to hear someone else's point of view.
Yeah.
That's what it's there for. Okay, right, should we do one more?
We've got tweets. Do you want me to read one of these? Or
let's do two of these.
Okay, Kurt Lewin says, who does James play as in FIFA career mode? Well, Chelsea, obviously.
Why? Play as the Lions. Play as the Mighty Lions.
Not going to do that.
The boys.
Okay, maybe we can go with... should I do... which one should I do? I hate this. I hate deciding one of these. This is horrible.
James, there's only 3 left.
I know, but... I just hate doing this because it's late.
No, don't do all of them.
No, that's not happening. Okay. The Nick Parton says, why do you think that Nintendo doesn't give a toss about online multiplayer enough to invest in the proper infrastructure?
Well, we've been through this. They're kind of like it feels like they want to be the Disney. I mean, it's been said a million times before. They want to be the Disney of computer games. They want to be as family friendly as possible. And let's face it, some of the shit that you hear while you play online is not too family friendly, is it? And I think they don't want anything to do with that sort of thing. That's my view. I think that's the most credible argument I've heard as to why they're like this. I mean, it's all bollocks because you just put good parental controls on your system and you're sorted, you're covered. But there you go.
Yeah.
James?
I agree with you, David.
Thanks, man. Makes a change, doesn't it? Right, is that it?
Yeah.
It's become apparent that this is the end of the show. Matt, what have you got to say for yourself?
I mean, we're on Twitter. We're at Computer Game Pod on Twitter, so you can email us, thecomputergameshow@gmail.com. You can follow us on Twitch. We're twitch.tv/thecomputergameshow. Obviously, James is doing is it just once a week now, your streams?
Yeah, probably, yeah.
Yeah.
I'll probably do it again on Wednesday.
So, probably. Yeah, so if you're hearing this
I
on
could be
launch
watching
day,
The Apprentice.
probably a stream tonight. I might do some Stardew Valley because it's an incredible game.
I'd watch that.
If you have subscribed to us on Twitch or with your free Amazon subscription, think about resubscribing. The free ones, it doesn't alert you when your subscription's elapsed. So think about doing it again. Why not? That's about it for social this week.
And that's about it from us. We're off to play some more computer games at the early hours of the morning. Thanks for living it. We'll catch you next week. Goodbye. Love you. Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.